Hello, good evening and welcome ladies and gentlemen to another round of fast-paced intense racing action in the one and only Next Gen Racing Touring Car Championship Season 7 as brought to you on the Premier Sim Racing platform available only on PC known as iRacing. Of course, this series powered by Doble Motorcycles looks to decide who is the master or mistress of the front-wheel drive, front-engine touring car racing class machine. As all our drivers get set and ready to go racing today, we changed the tone slightly from our two circuits that we started off at, both highly technical circuits in their own right, with last week of course featuring the Hockenheimring in Baden-Württemberg, Germany, and we've made our way to the Pacific for the one and only Japanese circuit that is the Fuji International Speedway. This is the first of two visits to Japan for this season. Later on this season we'll be visiting Suzuka, but where Suzuka perhaps steals the headlines for the majority of international racing, and it's Fuji that arguably dominates the headlines when it comes to domestic racing and the likes of Super GT. Located in the foothills of Mount Fuji, this circuit, located in the region of the city of Oyama, is a circuit like no other when it comes to its historical precedents. Originally envisaged as perhaps the ultimate test circuit for a number of Japanese manufacturers, with that accolade going to the hands of Toyota and Lexus in equal measure as their official test circuit, it has been the site of many a historical achievement, including the first ever live televised Formula 1 Grand Prix, of course that being the 1970 showdown between James Hunt and Niki Lauda, which eventually saw, due to the intervention of rain, James Hunt take his one and only Formula 1 title. As time has gone on, he has been the host of many a racing series across the globe and also on the domestic scene of Japan, including Japanese touring car Super GT and even a Formula 1 Grand Prix or two in the modern era. But as the drivers get set and ready to go racing today, they're going to need to take on arguably one of the toughest circuits when it comes to its contrasting features, with its long start finish straight, perhaps the most notable feature, spanning the best part of almost a mile in length, 0.93 miles to be precise, and apart from that we've got 16 corners, all of very different aspects, with the ultimate apex speed of this lap gradually coming down over the majority of lap and all the way to the very end on the last couple of corners. It will hit the slightest possible apex speeds, only to roar our way down that start finish straight and see the baton charge its way into the opening hairpin. And with plenty of elevation change as well, it means that this is going to be a circuit like no other when it comes to punishing those with success first, and that's why it's on our calendar. But as we get ready to go racing today, we welcome you all to this live broadcast from circuit side, and you can be tuning in via one of three media platforms for your viewing pleasure, of course. Firstly, you could be tuning in live via the official Next Gen media platforms, those being at youtube.com, search for Next Gen Racing, and welcome to you guys and girls tuning in via YouTube, including Catherine Meredith there, and also Welsh Boy 2012, and we also do have the broadcast going out on Facebook, our official Next Gen Racing Facebook group. You can find that at facebook.com/groups/Next Gen Racing, and welcome to you guys and girls tuning in via Facebook. We also do have the third broadcast, which is being brought to you on Twitch, the unofficial broadcast at twitch.tv/TX141, and welcome to you guys and girls tuning via Twitch. But who is TX141, I hear you ask? Well, I'm going to introduce myself as your host and commentator for this season. My name is Paul Walsh, also known as TX141 or Britain the Spit, depending on what media you follow me on. Now we bring you all your racing action from circuit side today, indeed over the entirety of the championship campaign. And as for our schedule for tonight, times in British Summer Time, that's BST, or Universal Coordinated Time +1, UTC +1. We get underway with our 15-minute qualifying session at 8 o'clock this evening, in approximately what will be about 16 minutes time, after which we're making our way to the grid for our first of our 3 sprint races today, all 11 laps in duration, the first of which being at 8:15, and after that we'll be taking a brief breather before race number 2 at 9 o'clock, and then we'll be once again taking a brief breather after race number 2, not without a reverse grid draw, and returning just before what will be 9:45 for the build-up to the final race of the day, the reverse grid race, race number 3 at 9:45. But it's a hot day today in Japan, with ambient temperature 24 degrees centigrade and a track temperature almost hitting 50 degrees centigrade. It's going to be hard, it's going to be difficult out there, and well, let's give you a recap of the championship calendar so far and what still lies in wait, indeed how this could be a round that turns everything on its side. For as we look to our calendar, well, we started off all the way back on the 23rd of July at the Circuit de Barcelona, Catalonia. And from Spain, we stayed on the European continent but made our way to neighbouring Germany for the Hockenheimring Baden-Württemberg last week. But today is the 6th of August 2024, and therefore it means we're here in Japan at the Fuji International Speedway. And after today, next week, we'll be going to a circuit in the United States of America that the NXTCC has not visited so far, and that'll be the Charlotte Motor Speedway, which Roval will playing host on the 13th of August, and we're looking forward to that. Indeed, welcome that circuit onto our calendar, and then we'll be wrapping up the first half of the season with our 1-hour feature race special for the first time in the NXTCC's history, and that'll be on the 20th of August at the Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps in Belgium. Then we're taking a 2-week break, given the fact that scheduling and holidays ongoing, but we will return in anger for what will be round 6 through to 10 as of the 10th of September, and we'll start with France, and indeed the Circuit de Nevers Magny-Cours will return after its brilliant demonstration of what it can deliver. The infamous French circuit will be playing host for round 6, after which we'll make our way to the neighbouring United Kingdom for the first of 2 visits, and on the 17th of September it'll be the Alton Park Island circuit, the traditional touring car racing circuit, which will bring all our drivers together as they roar their way around the countryside. And on the 24th of September we make our way back to Japan for our second and final visit to the Japanese island, and that'll be for the Suzuka International Racing Course, and the Grand Prix circuit will be playing host there. And then our penultimate round we'll see our drivers make their way back to the United Kingdom for another Grand Prix circuit, albeit the one at Brands Hatch, and then we'll be wrapping things up with the Grand Prix circuit in Brazil at the Autodromo Jose Carlos Pache on the 8th of October, but you all know and love it and refer to it as Interlagos, as we bring the curtain down on what is expected to be a closely fought championship campaign across all 3 of our classes in the Drivers' Championships and the Teams' Championship all the way to the very end. And it's only appropriate we wrap things up in Brazil. But coming on to those championship campaigns then, let's take a look at the championship standings after 2 rounds, starting with the Drivers' Overall Championship. And as we can see here, Wojciech Swirydowicz still leads by a slightly growing margin. 332 to the 275 of Mikey Doble. It's 57 points, and Swirydowicz's consistency means that right now he really is the man to beat, as he's looking to try and take his second title and defend his maiden crown from Season 6. Meanwhile, behind Mikey Doble, we see Jamie Dory there fighting to third, but only 6 points clear of Adam Delman and Benjamin McCluskey, meanwhile demarking what really is, or denoting I should say, the sizable gap to the rest of the field from Delman and the rest of the top 4. With McCluskey there leading the fight for P5 at 184 points, 21 clear of Lee Horn. And then we have Isaac Doble only a further 2 behind, and it's a further 5 to Matthew Addy, your leading prime overall in P8. From him, Ben Altrier and Andrew Point wrap up the top 10, but it's outside the top 10 by a further 24 points that right now Pascucci there looking to hold on as best as possible. Larice doing a great job, but only ahead of Liam Silkstone based on result countback, and indeed the results could go either way for them today. Nick Clemens sits P13, equal to Adam McNally on 107 points apiece between the Prime and Pro drivers, with Andy Fox there not on the grid today due to being on holiday, but I do believe he may be tuning in with a cool beverage in his hand, and if so, well, good to you, Andy. We're missing you out to the circuit, but we're very happy to hear you having a good time on holiday by the sounds of things, and we'll miss having you on the grid today, as he'll fall a bit further down, but look to make a resurgence later on in the season, with that all-important drop score to consider. But that's your top 15, and outside the top 15 by 6 points is Michael Lees, who will be taking a significant points deduction as of this round, as he has changed from the Audi RS3 to the Hyundai Elantra, and therefore you won't see him in qualifying. He'll be serving a qualifying ban immediately. We then have Jonathan Roberts in P17 ahead of Gavin Gardner, with Matthew Sheraton and Reece Watt completing your top 20. Outside the top 20, it is Duncan Ray's P21, 2 points clear of teammate for Goldwyn Motorsports Sam Van Olst, and then it's a further 14 points to Russell Fowler, with Patrick Falconer and Blair there making up your top 25. Jonathan Collins sits P26 ahead of Alex Meredith, with Luke Jones, James Spencer Scout and Piotr Czegoslewski completing your top 30. And note there that Jonathan Collins being the sole AM driver to be inside the top 30, with his teammate for Whiskey Runners Racing, Daniel Fritz, P31, and looking to chase after in the foothills of his teammate. Alan McCain sits P32 ahead of Sam Bradley, with Jake Pitt and Mark Kent wrapping up your top 35. And it's Slavomir Jarlowski, who's yet to get his campaign into gear in P36, ahead of Mark Sykes, with Ian Manners, Toby Prosser and Mitchell West completing your top 40. And outside the top 40, having score points, Matt Emmons, who we won't be seeing on the grid today, I do believe, due to not being quite able to make it, but I believe he may be tuning in. The Verano Motorsport driver will be severely missed there. I do know a number of you cheer him on, indeed the whole Verano Motorsport outfit. Roy Plummer, only behind him based on result countback, both on 14 points in P42. There's Josh Brown, Craig Tillotson, who won't be on the grid due to being on holiday, but I believe he's tuning in. Good evening to you, Craig, if you are. And we've got Marcel Fritsch there on equal points to Tillotson, but behind based on result countback. Next, Costa Chatscontinental, P46 ahead of Kevin Smith, with Lewis Mason wrapping up those who've got points against their name. Yet score any points, Tom Delaney, Sam Smith, Mike Kurtler, Gabriel Yilmaz, and there Andrew Parkin as well. But we look forward to seeing what they're able to do as the season goes on. And as we then move on to the Prime Drivers' Championship, with the points adjusted for the Prime class leadership positions, we see that it's Matthew Addy who only leads by 7 points over Ben Altrier, and it's back and forth between these two right now, but the key theme for Addy has been consistency, whereas Altrier seems to have the pace up his sleeve, but he's not quite had the consistency to be able to pull clear. However, what is clear is that they're both 52 points combined ahead of Nick Clibbins in P3, and Clibbins right now is leading the hunt for the top two, William Silkstone and Andy Fox right behind. Michael Lee sits P6 ahead of Matthew Sheraton by the best part of 10 points, and it's Sam Van Olst, Duncan Reyes and Vincent Ambler who complete your top 10, noting that the Goldwyn Motorsport team really dominating this top 10 and looking to try and squeeze into that top 5 as soon as possible, and the Valkyrie Excite driver of Ambler yet to really find his stride, and we're hoping to see more from him today given the fact he's had a lot of bad luck. Luke Jones sits P11 156 points. The best part of what is their 25 points clear James Smadsgow, who's starting to find his form. Then Alan McCain sits P13, 8 clear of Mark Sykes, with Alex Meredith in P15, having made his debut last time out for this season, albeit having been on the grid in prior seasons, but Meredith kicking off his championship campaign in style with a huge points haul, and we're looking for plenty more today. Piotr Jegosleski sits P16, enjoying the racing on around 100 points, 8 clear of Jake Pitt, and there's Ian Manners, Toby Prosser and Sam Smith who complete your top 20. And outside the top 20, it's also Andrew Parkin on 0 points, yet score any, but we're looking to try and get some points on the board today. We then come to the AM class last but not least, and it's Daniel Fritz who leads. The lead has changed hands after what was looking to be a season opener that set the form with Sam Bradley being so consistent. Well, Bradley's charge in what was round number 2 was brought to a halt, and Daniel Fritz has really stormed through to the top. 8 points clear, however, it's anybody's game at this point in time, and Jonathan Collins is also staying relatively close by the best part of 16 points behind Ian P3, and Whiskey Runners Racing having a great day in Germany last time out, picking up was a multitude of podiums, multiple wins, and also picking up their first 1-2 in the class. Matt Emmons not on the grid, of course, but currently P4 on 247 points, and therefore will have it all to do when he does return. Well, Mark Kent in P5 on 243 points there, the driver who set that absolutely scintillating pole lap in Spain, but the points right now not coming his way, and he'll be hoping for a better run of form today. Ryan Plummer sits P6 in a brilliant showing in Germany, picking up his first ever podium in the AM class on 221 points, and it's catapulted him ahead of his runner motorsport rival Craig Tillerson by 3 points, and it's Mitchell West, Josh Brown and Kevin Smith who complete your top 10. Lewis Mason sits P11 ahead of Costa Chatscontinental, whose debut at last time out in Germany went relatively well with a podium to go with his name, and I do believe then Tom Delaney P13 ahead of Mike Kurtler, and then it's Gabriel Yilmaz based on result countback, and that's how the AM Championship stands. And then come on to the Teams Championship, and here we can see Next Gen Pink continue to hold on to their lead by the 425 points, the 313 and SRL in Next Gen Gold. But notice how Semper Racing have moved into P3, only a point behind, and JW Motorsport have moved into P4 as well, and it's Doble Sim Racing have fallen from P2 to P5 after a difficult day in Germany. But can they bounce back today? Because they'll need to, with Aztec Racing leveling the scores at 255 points apiece, and Next Gen Blue only a further what is 16 behind. Full Tilt V Motorsport sit on 230 points, chasing after Next Gen Blue, but also cognizant of the fact that Valkyrie Excite are close behind. And then Whiskey Runners Racing 150 points. They're holding on to the tail end of the top 10 in P10. Outside the top 10 from the 150 points of Whiskey Runners Racing, it's a single point to Next Gen Red, with iRacing Esports P12 ahead of Goldwyn Motorsport. And then Verano Motorsport and the Sim Racing Collective complete your top 15, with the Sim Racing Collective getting a new driver on the grid today, more on them in due course, and Andrew Pike will be pleased to have some reinforcements. Mitch West Performance sits P16 ahead of 287 Motorsport. And it's the private to Andrew Parkin in P18 and the Performance Link Esports and WS Racing Esports to complete your 20 team standings. But let's come to our circuit for today then, and our circuit of course is the Fuji International Speedway's Grand Prix layout. Indeed, we're running the full 16 corner layout located in the city of Yokoyama in the Sunto district of the Shizuoka prefecture of Japan. And as we said earlier, this circuit sets a historical precedence in real life. Indeed, it is a circuit which is either loved or hated in the simulated just as much in real life, for the fact it is a highly contradictory circuit, as you can see from the circuit map. An incredibly long start finish straight which will see our drivers roar their way down towards turn 1, and as we take you around this lap, courtesy of the track map provided by iRacing, thank you to them for their brilliant simulator and also the track maps that come with it. As they make the way out of the heavy braking zone and that sharp hairpin, it's downhill they'll go for the Kinka 2 and in towards Coca-Cola corner at turn number 3. A slightly off-camber left-hander, which is all about carrying as much speed as possible but avoiding going too wide in order not to pick up a slowdown penalty. Our drivers will very quickly need to open themselves up to the left-hand side of the road to open their way into 100R at turns 4 and 5. Making the way for the double apex right-hander. It's downhill at first through turn 4, but then uphill through 5 as I look to bring the car to the right-hand side to brake hard for the hairpin, trail braking into the turn 6 apex and get it right. Okay, all the speed for the kink of 7 and down through the right-hand kinks of turns 8 and 9 at 300R into Dunlop corner chicane, what is turn number 10. It's a hairpin followed by a chicane sequence of turns 11 and 12, the lowest speed corner on the circuit, and they'll begin the rise up towards the start-finish straight with the elevation change becoming much more exaggerated compared to the downhill run from turn 1 to turn 10 as the drivers make the way through the turn 11-12 chicane, uphill through 13, a blind apex, and then the kink of 14 proceeds net spend at turn 15, a very tricky corner as it's completely blind at the apex of turn 15, and the drivers have to do it on feel and muscle memory as they make the way over the crest of 15 and into Panasonic corner at turn number 16, also nicknamed 3 or 4 wide corner given how wide the corner is, and there's no ideal line to turn 16. You can attack it at many angles. Indeed, we could see some brilliant fights there while drivers charge their way down the start finish straight to top speed to complete lap and do it all over again. Now, to give you a quick reminder of the rules before we go racing, keep in mind this is a fixed setup series for all setups provided by the NXTGEN Racing Administration, and the driver classes will be finalised as the conclusion of this round. So what it does mean is after today's round 3, when we go to round 4 in a week's time, those driver classes will be locked in. There are no class changes for today, however some are being considered by the admin team. In terms of our race grids, well, the race 1 grid shall be set based on results of qualifying, the race 2 grid shall be set based on results of race 1, and the race 3 grid shall be a reverse grid, partial reverse grid I should point out, based on results of race number 2, with the reversal position being drawn live from the commentary booth between P13 and P23, and we've got our NXTGEN Racing Lottery Bolt on standby to do so when the time's right. Each rider has one fast repair available in each race. And with our races expected to last 11 laps, they'll be about 20 minutes in length. But if we do see multiple safety cars, we could reach 30 minutes, at which point the race will be called come at the end of the current lap. On top of that as well, we do have our independent race directors stewarding the races for track limit infringements and deployment of the safety car. And well, the first and second warnings, there's no penalty. It's a 5-second post-race time penalty on the third warning, doubled to 10 on the fourth warning. On the fifth warning, you've earned yourself a drive-through penalty that has to be served within 3 laps. Meanwhile, all racing incidents must be reviewed post-round as per the rules and regulations. We also continue to use the success ballast. We won't go into it too much detail. You'll be used to it by now if you've been tuning in since the start of the season, but it does apply on a race-by-race basis to the overall Drivers' Championship, the Prime class and also the AM class, and we'll see that success ballast carried into today based on the championship stands prior to the round, and it'll be updated after each race. And those success ballast values on screen here, and Wojciech Swirydowicz will continue to take the 56.1 kilograms of success ballast in the overall Drivers' Championship, and we expect that could really start to pull him back into the clutches of the field. But indeed, speaking to a number of our drivers in the Prime and AM classes, even with their relatively lighter weights by comparison, they are feeling the pinch of that weight, and therefore this could really mix things up here at Fuji and see the championship standings sway a different way. Well, with that in mind, we return to circuit side as we are only moments away from going to the qualifying session, and as our drivers continue to practice in the final 3 minutes available, we look to Gavin Garner in the number 11. Though Dave Lost, the driver, hasn't quite hit his stride this season. We normally see him be a relatively fast starter with regards to his NXTCC campaigns, but this season hasn't quite gone the way he's wanted it to so far, but still plenty more rounds to come, no doubt about it, and perhaps this season with the changes in the tyre model and also the physics model for the touring car racing class on iRacing, perhaps he's just taking a little bit more time to get adjusted to it. Indeed, a number of drivers have found a need to really get themselves adjusted, and it has taken them some time over the pre-season testing. As he makes his way on through turns 6 and 7 through the hairpin and down towards the Dunlop chicane hairpin. Meanwhile, the fastest driver out there at the moment is none other than Adam Delmont, the SRO NXTGEN Gold driver, who looked absolutely ferocious last time out in round number 2 in Germany, and he seems to be continuing that trend, albeit relatively less success balance of the car compared to some of his rivals, but even so, carrying quite a bit of success balance in that car, and with that Honda Civic absolutely flying. But speaking of flying as well, and again, keep in mind these are practice times, we don't know what's coming when we go into qualifying. Some drivers could be holding back some pace right now, but as we can see, Alex Meredith, with only 2 minutes to go in practice, looking very sharp there, only 800ths off of Adam Delmont, and well, if he can carry this on, he may just be feeling as though he can deliver an absolutely brilliant day today. But speaking of a driver who'll be looking for brilliance here as he comes across the timeline and moves himself to P7, Luis Pascucci, the Valkyrie X-Type driver from Belgium, and indeed Valkyrie X-Type as a whole, you could say their team has been embodied by the number 25 Honda Civic Type R driver this season, in the fact they have shown some brilliant pace in pre-season testing, plus also in the practice sessions. But when it's come to qualifying, they've either found traffic or they haven't found the lap time. And in the races, they've had a huge amount of bad luck across all of their drives. Indeed, after what was round number 1, it was none other than their Pro-Am driver who found that they were having the best results of the trio. And well, we expect plenty more from them today, and hopefully some good luck can come their way and they can mix it up with the titans of the grid. But as he makes his way on through, we do have 2 new drivers on the grid, and we will be introducing them when we go into qualifying, because we'll see them out there. They're currently both in the pit lane, so no spoilers. But as our drivers do get set and ready to go, we look to Adam McNally and the SL NXTGEN Gold driver looking good in this final practice session, currently P17. But do keep in mind as well, look at those timing gaps from P1 to P22. It is less than an entire second between the top 22 as Sam Bradley moves himself into P23, so it's the fastest AM time right at the end of this practice session. So therefore you cannot count anybody out here. Indeed, that really has been the theme of qualifying sessions in the last 4 seasons of the NXTCC, and this is proving no different in season 7 so far, in the fact there is hundreds if not thousands that separate our drivers, and we absolutely love to see it. But with that, as McNally makes his way roaring down the start-finish straight, indeed making his way into the Pro class for this season, we look to Sam Bradley, teammate behind there in the AM SL NXTGEN Gold Honda Civic Type R. And Bradley right now coming back to the form that we saw in the season opener. But keep in mind, he's yet to win an AM class race, and we're wondering whether today could be the day he notches his first ever AM win. Well, time will tell, and of course the first part in that journey is qualifying. Speaking of which, up comes qualifying, ladies and gentlemen. As the circuit falls silent, and it won't be for long as our drivers get ready to make their way back out onto circuit. 15 minutes gets underway. It is go, go, go for everybody down the end of the pit lane. And will the first driver out the pit lane will be Jamie Dory, just about sneaking out ahead of the rest of the field here. But everyone very eager to try and get out there as soon as possible. You can understand why, in the fact that this is going to be one of those circuits where track positioning and finding the perfect toe will be just as important as nailing all 16 corners. And indeed, we have seen a theme over the course of previous NXTCC seasons, and indeed this season so far, where slipstream gives you a couple attempts in qualifying. Here at Fuji, the slipstream can be worth the best part of a half a second all the way through to almost a second if you absolutely nail it in the toe. And therefore for our drivers here, especially down the start finish straight, and even as they make the way out of the hairpin here at turns 6 and 7, which you're seeing our drivers make the way into in the run down through 300R in towards turn number 10, all that combined together can make or break a lap before you even put it together with those corner apexes. So therefore we've got all that to look forward to as our drivers push on in qualifying. But first they'll want to get those tyres up to temperature, and they'll want to get some of the fuel out of the car in order to give themselves the best possible opportunity to try and set a pole lap. But as our drivers make the way on through, let's introduce our 2 new drivers on the grid today, as we do see if our cameramen can find them. And well, the first one racing for the Sim Racing Collective from England, it is none other than this man here, Tom Davison, who is going to be joining as this round and onwards and bolstering the Sim Racing Collective's numbers alongside Andrew Pike. He is provisionally assigned to the Pro-Am class, but that is an assignment that applies to all new drivers midway through the season if they haven't been on the grid at the NXTCC before. But indeed it could be adjusted after today, depending on how well he performs. We look forward to seeing the number 42 driver who's opted to go for the Hyundai Veloster give it his all as he makes his way up through net spend at turns 14 and 15 and onwards towards 16. We're going into his first flying lap. So he'll be a new recruit to the Pro-Am class and for the Sim Racing Collective, and good luck to him on his debut. And we've also got a little bit further back, as you can see, all the Valkyrie Excite drivers, but one of whom is new today in that Hyundai Veloster, the last of the trio with the 2 Hondas in front of him, and it's none other than the Belgian driver of Dimitri Coulon, who we see here make his way out of Panasonic corner, and in the draft he goes as he embarks on his way to his first ever NXTCC qualifying lap. And as he makes his way on down, we wish him all the best in his debut in the NXTCC, and hopefully see some good luck come his way as he also joins the Pro-Am class. As he makes his way down, maybe you'll be wondering what's going to be the form today in terms of our 4 cars that are available. What we have seen so far this season, the Honda Civic Type R has been the strongest car on the balance of performance. However, the circuits we've raced at thus far have not really featured elongated straights, albeit you could say that Catalonia did have its long start-finish straight, but not as long in calibre as the start-finish straight here at Fuji. On top of that as well, we do have a number of major elevation changes, something we haven't really had, particularly last time out in Germany. There's barely any elevation change at the Hockenheimring circuit, and at Catalonia the elevation changes were rather gradual and mostly downhill when they were sharper, so it didn't really hurt those who were successful. success bars. But all in all, with the weight in the car, that is going to have an effect of its own. But in terms of form, we are expecting the Audi RS3s and the Hyundai Elantras to really come alive at this circuit, given their performance down the start-finish straight when they are long stretches, and therefore they'll be able to reach a much higher top speed. Meanwhile, in the corners, particularly in the final third laps of turn 10 up to 16, that is where the Veloster and the Honda Civic tyre power should truly shine. Although we are expecting the Honda to also be strong in the first half of the lap, we do have a lot of heavy load corners that are medium to high speed. However, keep in mind the Hondas lack the top end speed on the start finish straight, and they'll be reliant on the toe in order to feel comfortable in terms of being able to go on the attack lap after lap, and therefore they're going to need the slipstream in order to get themselves right up at the front of the field. But as we look towards the front of the qualifying field, as they make their way down towards the timeline, where it's going to be Jamie Dory who sets the first lap on the board, I do believe. But in fact, Benjamin McCluskey goes on through. Wojciech Swirydowicz also comes on through, and it is going to be a 51.249, setting the initial bank reference time here on the Honda Civic Tyre Power. But I suspect there's going to be a 50 out there, if not even more, from a number of drivers, including Swirydowicz, as time goes on. And as time continues to go on, we do say hello to a number of you in the YouTube channel who have joined since the start of the broadcast, including there's Freya Move. Good evening to you, Vez. I hope you're doing well. Also there to Craig Tillerson, who wishes he was on track, not drinking beer on holiday, but still, Craig, I hope you're having a good time cheering on the Verano Motorsport team. We've also got the official Verano Motorsport YouTube channel there cheering on their team. We also do have Andy Fox there, and cheers from a sunny 30 degrees centigrade Spain. Indeed, warm out in Spain for you, Andy, and warm here circuit side in Japan. And we'll also say hello to Bernardo Cove, who's cheering on Alex Meredith, and well, hoping that Alex Meredith can push a bit harder. And also we say hello to Shroom at 1, who is cheering on, I believe, Tom Davidson. And well, we'll take a look to Davidson and how he's getting on shortly, as we look from Sam Bradley to what is Jonathan Collins behind teammate Daniel Fritz, as the two Whiskey Runner Racing drivers made the way on through turn 1 in towards turn number 2. A third of qualifying already complete. Looking to find a bit more time out there without question, but as they make the way on down and around, well, the idea here first and foremost is going to be, I think, for these two, just give themselves some space out in circuit and then work together. And a bit of a to me to you here in the fact that I would wonder that Collins here will probably be in the tow for this lap, but come the end of the lap they'll probably do a swap on the start finish straight, make sure they've got some clear air in front of them, and then it'll be Collins who pulls teammate Daniel Fritz around for a lap, and they'll rinse and repeat. But I think the way they're setting themselves up here, they don't want the tow of another pack of cars in front, because of course you run the risk there that if a car in front of you ends up in a mistake and therefore has to slam on the brakes and come off racing line but doesn't get out of the way in time, well, your qualifying lap can be compromised. But of course, if they were on a lap, they have the right to the racing line first and foremost up to an extent, and therefore it's the risk versus reward nature. But our drivers have normally been pretty succinct in terms of stepping out of each other's way when needed, but you always run that risk when you're in the tail of another car. Not just the understeer it invokes with the dirty air, but also the fact that the driver in front gets it wrong, or they're not quite on your pace, they're a bit slower, and your lap can be compromised compared to the optimum that you are chasing. And as our drivers continue to make the way on around, we do look to what is the prime class, and well, we look to Dimitri Coulon here, who right now P3 prime, P11 overall, only behind Davidson by the best part of 1.5 tenths. Alan McCain sandwiching himself right between them, ideally 7/10 or 7/100 of both of them there. So McCain splitting the two absolutely perfectly. But it's Alex Meredith right now who is setting the fastest laps out there. It's absolutely flying. And well, I can tell you one thing, ladies and gents, when I briefly caught up with Alex in the build-up to tonight, indeed, catching up with a number of drivers in the pre-race lobby. Well, they were saying to me about the fact that a number not enjoying this circuit, given the wear it was putting through the tyres and how punishing it was for those with success bars. Meredith being one of those drivers who was talking about the rather challenging nature of this circuit, but right now he does seem to be enjoying that challenge. And well, the last time we raced it, I do recall that it was Alex who was one of our primes who was absolutely flying in the field, and where it goes to show this Fuji circuit really fitted him, and the Hyundai Elantra as he makes his way on around. But keep in mind, we're only almost at the halfway point of this qualifying session, so we have got some time remaining, and therefore it could all change yet as he makes his way on around. But as he does say, we say hello in the Facebook chat there to Katie Eames, and I'm doing very well, Katie. More importantly, I hope you're doing well, and shouting out lone driver Kevin Swift tonight for Verano Motorsport. And well, speaking of Kevin, currently not out on circuit, I do believe currently in the pit lane they're doing some work on the Honda. We may see him out there a little bit later on as more drivers make the way on down. And well, as they do, well, meanwhile we look to three-time NXTCC champion overall in the Drivers' Championship for Doble Sim Racing, Mikey Doble. And as he makes his way on down the start-finish straight, plenty more touring car racing to come, of course. Knock Hill upcoming in the BTCC. But right now, focusing on this championship tonight as he makes his way down the start-finish straight, currently P15. Can he find a bit more time? Yes, he can, up to a 51.612. That puts him P14. Just sneaks him ahead of all ever-eternal rival, but friend as well, Jamie Dory, by 200ths there. But Andrew Pike immediately demotes the pair of them by going to P13. And here is Pike in the Sim Racing Collective Honda. And the times continue to trickle on in, but we can see their top 23 separated right now by just over 9 tenths, and Lee Horn in P24 just over a second off of the pole lap at this time. But we are at the halfway point of this qualifying session. A lot of drivers come into the pits now expecting that they need to put on a new set of tyres, given the fact the tyre model has completely changed now. And well, it's the fact that the tyres cannot be pushed as hard in qualifying. Indeed, if you push them hard for a couple of laps, you will need a new set. They lose their optimum pace very quickly after 3 or 4 qualifying laps. And that does add a new element to qualifying, which is you can't just sit out on circuit for the entirety of the qualifying session and keep knocking lap after lap in. Indeed, you've got to conserve the tyres a little bit or be prepared to make an all-important pit stop. But of course, our drivers won't just simply park off circuit and take themselves to the pit, because A, it doesn't quite add to the realism factor, but also B, in the fact if they do that, particularly if they're running success ballast, they will be putting all the fuel back in the car, and that's the fuel that holds them back from delivering the optimum times. So therefore, that's why they make their way into the pit gradually rather than rapidly. And as the drivers make the way on around, we look to Mark Kent meanwhile as he makes his way down towards the timeline, and as he does, currently at P36, moves up to P27 now at 52.186, and he now moves to your provisional pole sitter in the AM class. And looking good is Mark Kent as he continues to shine here. And well, Full Tilt v Motorsport really have had some great dawns this season so far in terms of what we saw in the season opener, but many would argue, is it a false dawn given the pace that was shown at Catalonia, but in subsequently the results have not matched up? Well, I think today Mark is going to try and prove in the AM class at least that it's not a false dawn, and he is here to go full attack versus the Whiskey Runners racing pair of Daniel Fritz and Jonathan Collins, who sit behind him P2 at P3 respectively in class, P29, P33 overall. So Kent giving himself a bit of a cushion and a buffer as well in terms of where he is in that overall pecking order. Meanwhile, outside the top 35, we do have currently last of our set times, Toby Pross here for Aztec Race, and we can see the Aztec Army all making the way out onto circuit. And as he makes his way on through turn number 1 in towards turn number 2, well, I do suspect here that Pross is going to be looking for a bit more time, but he's going to try and work with his teammates to do so, as behind him there, I believe, is none other than that's not quite Jake Pitt. Pitt's a little bit further back. That's James Smazersgal right on his heels, and well, Smazersgal currently P30, P11 in the Pro-Am class, and it does seem as though Aztec Racing not quite able to get things to click together here at the Fuji International Speedway as much as they would like. And Matthew Sheraton only a further 2 places up the road in P28. Definitely a challenging day for Aztec so far, but I'm sure they'll rise that change as time goes on. Those lovely liveries, of course, on the car, and well, we did get to see them on the thumbnail for this broadcast, and well, the liveries absolutely shining high for all of our teams up and down the grid, and you'll see a different team on the thumbnail each week, I promise you that. But as they make the way on around through the hairpin, well, right now they're running out of time, and well, meanwhile we're running out of time to get an onboard lap with one of our drivers. But now the fuel's primarily out the car, I mean, it's only fair that we get an onboard lap here with our reigning champion as he roars his way towards the timeline and see what he can do this time as he makes his way onto another lap. We jump aboard with Wojciech Swirydowicz as he takes us around for a flying lap with the Fuji International Speedway. So he makes his way down towards turn number 1, and as he does so here, flat out all the way, hitting top gear at long last in the Honda that struggles with top end speed. But looking to his left hand side of his brake marker, the 150 board passes, and he brakes approximately 120 metres from corner apex all the way down to first gear, pointing the car into the apex off a trail braking, using the run-off curb in there to get the throttle down through the Kinka 2, flat out up towards 3 and then towards Coca-Cola corner. As he brings the car over to the right side, we'll look for his brake mark. It'll be the 50 metre wood. A dab of the brakes, get the nose pitched forward with regards to the weight in full drop to 3rd. Now back up to 4th gear, stays nice and tight through the entry into turn number 4, and then lets the car gradually drift out before coming back to the apex of turn number 5 and using the apex curve to pull the car around before going uphill to the right hand side for the hairpin at 6. Braking the 100 metre wood, trail braking down to the 2nd gear, plenty of apex curve to cut over, and as he makes way out through turn number 7, it's now flat out all the way down towards the hairpin. as he makes his way down towards the Dunlop chicane hairpin, staying over initially and let the car fly out to the left-hand side, looks his right hand side of his brake marker and braking at about 130 metres per corner apex, lowest speed corner on the circuit, down to first gear, 38 miles an hour at the apex, and now making sure to stay in first gear for as long as possible before going up into second, then into third, before going into turn 13, down to second once more, blind apex on the right hand and now into next bend, hold over to left, hold it, now let the car drift out onto the brakes so you can't see the apex, and only now as he turns in will he see the apex and next bend, as he makes way out of 15, in towards 16 he goes, staying nice and over to the left hand side, open the corner up, and now nice and tight to the apex, stamp on the throttle, and have the full commitment that you've managed to balance the understeer versus the throttle input and charge his way down towards the timing line. But what's it going to be for Wojciech Swirydowicz this time? Currently 2/10 off the pole lap slip by Alex Meredith. Has he been able to improve? He's gone purple in the middle sector. This is looking a good lap for Swirydowicz, but what's it going to be? It's not quite enough. It's a personal best of a 51.209. It's an improvement by 400s, but he is the fastest man in the middle sector, and he moves himself slightly more safely clear of Russell Fowler in P4. Speaking of Russell Fowler on form right now, and I think Russell's going to be enjoying himself here because this, of course, was the circuit where he made his debut in the NXTCC in Season 3 all those seasons ago. And he was absolutely dominant that day. One of the best ever performances we've seen from a debutee driver in what was the final race at Fuji. But as he makes his way up the rise and in towards that turn at number 6, going from the prime to the pro class, has been a long journey for the Pornsling esports driver. But right now, currently P4 and definitely on fine form as we say hello to Andrew Fellows, who's cheering on Adam Delman. Speaking of him, still in P2, only 300ths off Alex Meredith, who's looking to take his maiden pole position for this season. And well, meanwhile, what about performances elsewhere on the grid? Well, I can tell you that Mark Kent is out of the car in terms of being your provisional and pole sitter, but only 17 thousandths behind him is this man, Jonathan Collins, Whiskey Runners Racing, who's looking to try and usurp and spoil what could be a pole position for Full Tilt v Motorsport in the AM class in their battle for P28. Isaac Dole's meanwhile moved up off camera to P4. Mikey Doble's moved up to P10. So everyone leaving it to the last possible moment as the fuel continues to come out of the car. We've also got Sam Smith into P25. So those lap times continue to come alive around here, and was not long left on the board, as meanwhile one driver who is really struggling this qualifying session, it must be said, is none other than Patrick Falconer as he makes his way up the rise here, the JW Motorsport driver in the Audi RS3, P22, and he's on an out lap. He has not got around to go into another flying lap, so this is not going to work out. But meanwhile, what has worked out is Russell Fowler moves up to P3 on a 51.095. Is it enough to dethrone Swirydowicz from P3? Yes, it is, and Fowler only half a tenth of the overall pole. Swirydowicz does improve, but it's no more than P4 still on a 51.164. Who else is out there trying to improve right now? Well, we have got Andrew Pike, who's making his way down towards the timing line. He is in the toe of another car here, and he's in the toe, I think, of Toby Prosser as they make the way down. He'll be grateful for the slipstream. It's going to give him all the top speed that the Honda lacks as he makes his way on down. And as he does so, he pulls out the toe. What's it going to be from Pike? It's not enough to improve. He stays P15. Prosser did make a personal best improvement, but it wasn't enough to move him up into, in fact, it was. It moved him P33. Well done to the Aztec Racing driver. And, well, with that, ladies and gents, we still got drivers out there on laps, including Adam Dillman, as Roy Plummer does improve off camera, albeit does not improve it into the top 35. He still stays down in what is P41, the lowest placed driver of those who've set a time. And meanwhile, into the pits, a multitude of drivers come, including Adam Dillman. He's not improving. Meanwhile, Alex Meredith is out there. Is he improving? Doesn't look like it. Lee Horn, meanwhile, just a little bit up the road, also into the pits. I think everyone's coming in. Nobody's improving here. The circuit right now, it's in its optimum state, but nobody's finding the time to deliver. And with that, as the checker flag waves, has anybody else got a lap in them? And well, sector times right now seem to show Sam Smith has improved, but for P21 he stays on a 51.770. Is the improvement by a couple hundredths. And meanwhile, in fact by a couple thousandths I should say, just sneaks him back ahead of an old speed. He moves down to P22 at Slamir Jalvosky, sets a P18 time of 151.645. Here comes the Valkyrie Excite driver of Jonathan Robrex. Can he find any time out there? My gut feeling says no. What about Mitchell West? Well, I think West crossed the line. Indeed, he did after the timer, so therefore this lap will not be valid. So that is qualifying complete, ladies and gentlemen. And your pole sitter for today is also your prime pole sitter. It is Alex Meredith with a sensational 51.048, 300ths faster than Adam Delman, who is your pro pole sitter. And meanwhile, it is Sam Bradley who spoiled the party. In fact, it's not Sam Bradley. Let me take a moment to rewind myself there. It is Mark Kent, who in the end has made sure the party proceeds as planned for Full Tilt Motorsport with a pole position in the AM class, P29 on the grid, only by 17 thousandths over Jonathan Collins, and so close, no doubt about it. But in the end, Kent just putting himself ahead of the Whiskey Runners Racing driver, and Full Tilt Motorsport will be absolutely pleased with that. Meanwhile, one driver I think will be pleased with himself a little bit is Slavomir Jarvosky. After really struggling in the first 2 rounds, P18's not where he wants to be, but he is moving up that order. But with that, ladies and gentlemen, it's time for us to move up the order, because it is time for our first race of the day. And of course, to do that, we have to set a grid. Our drivers are making their way onto it, and this is how they're going to line up for our first race at Fuji. So, for race number 1 of round 3 of the NXTCC Season 7, brought to you on iRacing and powered by Doble Motorcycles, it is Alex Meredith who takes his maiden pole position for this season. The prime pole position as well for Whiskey Runners Racing, and that is a 51.048. He's joined on the front row by the pro driver of Adam Delman for SO NXTGEN Gold, who missed out on pole by 300ths, if that. Russell Fowler sits P3 for Performance Link Esports on the second row of the grid, and with him is Wojciech Swirydowicz, your championship leader for Semper Racing, with an absolutely stellar effort to qualify P4. Isaac Doble starts today, P5 for Doble Sim Racing ahead of NXTGEN Pink's Benjamin McCluskey, and then we'll see on row number 4, it's Reese Watt for JW Motorsport and Gavin Gardner there for NXTGEN Pink, who complete the full row of the grid, with your top 10 being rounded off by Loris Pascucci, the Belgian driver achieving one of his best qualifying performances so far this season, and the Valkyrie Excite driver joined by teammate Jonathan Robrex, and indeed this is what they're looking for. That's a great qualifying performance from both the teammates there, and now can they push forward or at least stay inside the top 10? Mikey Doble qualifies P11 for Doble Sim Racing. Keep an eye on, of course, that second place success balance there, but he normally makes progress in the races. Keep your eyes out for him. And he's got the company of Adam McNally, P12 for SO and NXTGEN Gold. Round number 7 goes to the pairing of Tom Davidson on his debut for the Sim Racing Collective, P13, and Alan McCain, P14 for iRacing Esports, with Andrew Pyatt, P15, just behind his teammate for the TSRC team. And he is joined on the 8th row of the grid by debutant Dimitri Coulon for Valkyrie Excite with a solid job to qualify P16. Behind the Belgian driver, it's the Englishman of Jamie Dory for NXTGEN Ping and the Polish driver of Semper Racing Slavomir Jarvosky, and your top 20 is completed by Lee Horn for Sam Cases for NXTGEN and JW Motorsports Luke Jones. Matthew Addy takes P21 for Sam Cases for NXTGEN, knowing that this race will be about damage limitation and making progress in the 777, and he'll have the company of Sam Smith for iRacing Esports in that 11th row of the grid, with row number 12 going to the parent of Sam Van Olst for Goldwing Motorsport and JW Motorsports Patrick Falconer. We'll then have on row number 13 the combination of Ben Altria for Full Tilt Motorsport and Joe Doble for Doble Sim Racing, and then P27 it's Marcel Fritsch for WS Racing Esports with Duncan Moraes for Goldwing Motorsport P28, and the South African driver not quite qualifying where I think you'd like to be, but knowing he's got some effort when he goes into race number 1 he needs to expend. And then coming to row number 15, your AM pole sitter Mark Kemp for Full Tilt Motorsport, only 17 thousandths clear of Jonathan Collins, second place AM driver for Whiskey Runners Racing. Matthew Sheraton starts P31 for Aztec Racing ahead of Daniel Fritz for Whiskey Runners Racing P32. Row 17 meanwhile goes to James Smassersgal, the Aztec Racing driver, qualifying alongside his teammate Toby Brosser. And then it's Liam Silkstone P35 for SO and NXTGEN Gold. Sam Bradley starting P36 for SO and NXTGEN Gold all alongside him. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I've just been informed that we are going to have a slight delay to our starting procedure, but we'll carry on with the grid. And then we can see Mitchell West, P37 for Mitch West Performance. The Australian driver there just out qualifying Mark Sykes for Sam Cases for NXTGEN. Jake Pitt for Aztec Racing and Lewis Mason, his teammate, complete the top 40. With Roy Plummer setting a time for P41 for NXTGEN Red, the last of the valid times. And he'll be joined on what is row number 21 by Michael Lees, who took that qualifying ban, of course, for JW Motorsport, having changed to the Hyundai Elantra. And on the last full row of the grid, it's going to be Kevin Smith for Rhino Motorsport and Costa Chats Continental for 287 Motorsport. Neither driver getting a valid time on the board and completing our 44 car field. But with that, ladies and gentlemen, as we look back down to the grid, well, we are going to have a delay to the race start, as we just had whispered in our ear by what is our race director. But still, I believe that everything is now sorted. So we are 30 seconds away from the lights going on. And well, for Alex Meredith, as we sit on board here, it's a relatively short run on the opening lap to turn number 1. I say relative, but of course, that run is the best part of at least half a mile. And well, not half a mile, it'll be about 400 meters. And he'll know it's the longest run he'll need need to do to beat the man alongside him, Adam Delmont, but which one of the two will get that run underway to perfection? And who will be leading for 10 laps of racing? Well, here we go, ladies and gentlemen. The lights are going on, and it's going to be, without further ado, 1 red light, 2 red lights, 3 red lights, 4 red lights, 5 red lights. And it's lights out and away we go here at Fuji as Alex Meredith gets a good start. Delmont got a better launch off the line, but Meredith picks up in the second phase of launch. And as they make the way down towards turn number 1, Delmont's going to have the inside line here as they head onto the brakes. The Honda may just be able to get ahead here under braking. Meanwhile, cheeky move to the inside there from Wojciech Swirydowicz. Couldn't quite find it as they make the way down, but Swirydowicz trying to take a risk and in the end backing out of it before it became too risky. Meanwhile, all the field code, oh goodness me, that's gone very wrong for Mark Kent, who's turned around there onto the grass in contact with Marcel Fritsch, but otherwise out of our 44 starters, 42 of them safely on through, it would seem. And as they make the way in towards, and now Coca-Cola corner, will Jake Pitt there, pushing forward with Roy Plummer tucking in behind. We've got a car off, that's Marcel Fritsch who's gone off to the runoff area. But meanwhile, looking back up the order, as we can see Alex Meredith right now breaking away from Adam Delmont, as meanwhile Russell Fowler under attack from Isaac Doble. And Isaac Doble's had a brilliant start here to launch his way into P4, getting ahead of Swirydowicz after Swirydowicz has moved to the inside into turn 1. And as they make the way down towards the Dunlop chicane hairpin, Fowler feeling himself under pressure here, and now he's just got to survive this run of corners and then be on that start finish straight. But as they make the way on through the right left right combination, you see everybody queuing together. Pascucci having a great start as well, up to P8 from P9. And he's got Gavin Garner behind him, but all the drivers now feeding the way through. Further back, Tom Davidson's holding on to second place in the Prime class, will be losing a place overall, but he won't be too upset about that given the fact he's keeping Alan McCain behind him. Meanwhile, Dimitri Coulon's fallen a little bit further back just in the rear of the picture as they make the way up the crest of Nets Bend. We can see everyone now getting very feisty, trying to position themselves for a move here into the final corner of Panasonic, but at the same time, is it worth it? It's the big question. You see there, Pike and McNally flashing lights at each other, I think trying to send Morse code, which is, look, let's not fight each other, we'll lose the lead back, as they make the way down towards turn number 1 for the second time. But after 1 lap of racing, it is Alex Meredith who leads Prime and overall ahead of Adam Delmont, followed by Russell Fowler. Isaac Doble sits P4, Wojciech Swirydowicz P5. Then it's Benjamin McCluskey battling side by side here for P5. They make the way through. It's a drag race, and McCluskey's got his nose ahead, but Swirydowicz has got his way onto the inside of the Honda's the better car in the brakes, as we know. And as they make the way onto the anchor, Swirydowicz will fight back for this as soon as possible. A little bit of rub between the turbo on exit there, but gets it done. Swirydowicz back to P5 for now, or is he? In fact, he overextended the corner. In fact, I think he's picked up a slowdown for his efforts. He's out to serve a slowdown. Indeed, he is, because now Reese Watt comes on through. The Reese Pascucci does as well. Gavin Garner and Swirydowicz. This race is falling away from him as they make the way into turns 4 and 5, and that slowdown being served. Mikey Doble completes your top 10. And there's Jonathan Roberts P11, and he's best of the rest as he continues to be chased by Andrew Pike and Adam McNally. Speaking of whom, well, Pike there is clear McNally, but McNally right now seems to have the entire field queuing up behind him here as we ride on board and look back from the SO NXTGEN Gold car. The 478 seen plenty of action from 2 primes behind, but we're absolutely fighting 2 for now, and that's Davidson and McCain, who continue to run this race side by side. They haven't stopped since the start of this lap, and as they head in towards turn number 10, that's going to be McCain on the inside him, and now he's going to be wary of the fact that these two fighting, one of them may outbrake the other, and he won't want to be tapped on the rear end. But the SO NXTGEN Gold drive steers clear, and Davidson gets the place back in a brilliant commitment to the defensive line there, around the outside to inside through 10 and 11, and McCain in the end has to respect it and backs off accordingly as they make the way up the hill. Meanwhile, somebody may be asking, what about in the AM class? What's happened there? Well, here's Sam Smith battling with Luke Jones, 2 primes, but right behind him, that is going to be Jonathan Collins, who has found his way up the order. And of course, we did see that instant for none other than what was Mark Kent at the start of the race. We will get your replay of that when we can, ladies and gentlemen. But as the drivers make their way on through, it does mean that for Sam Smith right now, with Luke Jones pushing on, and then Jonathan Collins is your AM leader with Sam Bradley right behind him. But Smith and Jones are fighting. They may be reeled back into this AM pack as they make their way onto another lap. But as they race their way on down, we stay with this battle as they head in towards lap number 3. And you see just a bit further back, James Mansell trying to make his way past Liam Silkstone for his P12 Pro-Am, P31 overall, and they've got Daniel Fritz staying with them and asking them to stop the fighting because he wants to go hunting as well after Collins and Bradley. But as they head onto the brakes, they stop their fights and they form their way back into a line. But I don't think it's going to be before long before we see them side by side once again as they come out of turns 1 and 2. Let's take a look back at that race start and what exactly happened to none other than Mark Kent as he got underway. So here's the race start from the external cameras as he launched. Now, of course, pole sitter there. You could see Collins just alongside, and Collins having an abysmal start. You could see the wheel spin there, bogging the car down. So therefore, Kent really getting underway with aplomb. But what happened then into turn one? Finds himself on a free wind with Marcel Fridge on the outside, and what I believe is Joseph Doble on the inside. And as they come on through, the concertina effect plays out. You've got the 33 from Doble Motorcycles there, and then Kent gets the throttle on, but I don't think he realises that Fridge is still there, and he's on the racing line, and then gets the throttle down, contact, and Kent is turned around, and very unfortunate for Mark Kent. And when he looks back at the one, I think he's only going to be kicking himself over it as we return to your live racing pictures. But as we do, there's still plenty more to come as the clouds come over the Fuji circuit. Hopefully it's not going to be for too long, albeit it's going to cool the circuit down, no doubt about it. But for those of you tuning in to see some gold ring up racing action, well, here we look to San Bernals, and right now the number 92 driver's had a good start to this race, 1 place overall, gained 2 in prime class. He's currently running P6 in class with what his teammate Duncan Rice just a little bit further back, chasing after Ben Altria, and with the Goldwing Motorsport driver from South Africa on the charge here as we ride on board. Looking down over the top of the car, and with the 504 of Altria there in the tow as well. But this is where the Audi runs rampant. We can see a little bit of a bump draft there on the back of Altria, given the fact they won't want to make the move just yet, whereas we want to do it now. After he's crossed that start-finish line, he'll now start thinking about pulling to that inside, but has he timed it right? And the answer seems to be no. The bump draft was too late in the play, and as he heads down to the brakes here, he's going to just simply tuck in behind. But both drivers here, of course, trying to push each other forward to hunt after San Bernals. Also Dimitri Kulin and Matthew Addy, who are all a bit further up the road. It really is a tactical race here, and you don't want to lose that patch, because you can't bet on a safety car at Fuji with extensive runoff areas and patches of grass. It's very likely if there is an instant the cars will be moved off circuit unless it's on the start-finish straight, and the circuit will clear, and therefore we're not going to see too many criteria for a safety car unless there is an absolutely huge instant involving multiple cars. But there we can see Altria looking at the move on the inside of Joseph Doble, goes away in for it. Vinazar, he's got to pounce. Bit of contact between the two of them there, that's going to cost them some time, but race not close enough to capitalise. But they're still side by side as they make the way on through 300R. But notice there now Altria backing off, deciding to give Doble the right of way. But I think it's still mind games from Altria, trying to see if he can go to the inside. But the Honda driver of Doble there just able to outbrake the Elantra of Altria and stay as he was going into this lap as they make the way uphill towards the end of the lap. Meanwhile, we look back up towards the front of the field, and Alex Meredith right now continues to try and run away from the pack behind, but not dropping Adam Delman as much as he would like to. Meanwhile, from P3 downwards, they are all being dropped gradually. The gap is 1.5 seconds almost. They exit Panasonic corner, and it's Russell Fowler who's at the head of this long snake train of cars. And credit where it's due to the 61 driver from the United Kingdom. He's doing everything in his power right now to hold on to P3. That'll be his target for this race, no doubt about it. And Isaac Doble just cannot respond. He's in the draft. You can see Fowler is doing a little bit of bobbing and weaving here. As long as he doesn't make it too erratic, he'll get away with it, but he might get a gentle reminder from the stewards after the race. And look, it's only really one move, and on the straights as well, no excessive weaving. But the key point being here that Fowler right now just doing everything right to make sure that he holds onto this P3 and prevents the train of cars from behind finding a way to open the door on him. And he'll want them all to start fighting each other as well. But again, much like we saw with the battles further down the order, I think everybody in this pack right now being patient and deciding not to fight until the time is right. So therefore, whilst we're on lap 5 and it's relatively calm, this will be the calm before the proverbial storm. And well, Fuji, a circuit known to have some very stormy conditions at different times in the season, but in the simulator, the storm we're talking about is when the elbows truly come out. But a mistake there from Gavin Garner, goes a bit wide out of turn 5. That's going to put him on the inside, as we can see Wojciech Swirydowicz holding around the outside there, and Garner looking very vulnerable now in P9 versus Mikey Doble, and Doble gets the better X out of 6-7, gets himself most importantly to the inside of 300R, and what I think this place will go the way of the Doble Sim Racing driver in the Honda as he gets back in front. Here comes Jonathan Roberts as well. Roberts goes hard on the brakes, tries to sneak his way in, using the Honda's braking potential there, but Gardner says no, you don't, and Roberts backs out. They're brilliant racing between the two of them to see each other, know when to fit back in, and you can see the respectful race there from the Valkyrie Excite driver. He's pushing for it. He wants to get back in that top 10 because that's where he started P10. He's lost one place. I don't think he'll be too upset if he finishes P11, but he'll know he wants more, and he knows he's got the pace to earn himself more, no doubt about it. But as they make the way up the hill, meanwhile, we do look a little bit further down the order. to Wojciech Collins, and the AM leader right now still being chased by Sam Bradley. You can see there the 2 lead AM drivers caught up behind Sam Smith, and Smith will be giving Collins the tow, and Collins will be grateful for that, but I think he'll also want to try and clear him as soon as possible. As meanwhile, well, it's a gold wing on gold wing moment here, as this is Duncan Rise and Sam Van Ols. Now they were both chasing after Ben Altria, but I wonder whether there's a bit of a swap here coming between the 2 drivers. In fact, Moraes has got ahead of Van Ols at the end of this lap coming out of Panasonic. I would suspect that right now Sam just cannot find his way through, and he's probably been on the radio to Duncan to say, can you help me get past it, because I can't find a way past Altria. And as they make the way down, well, you're seeing that immediately, Moraes on the inside here, full of momentum, full of steam, just sails up the inside and makes it look absolutely like clockwork. But I can tell you it's more than that, in the fact he's had to get those brakes absolutely spot on in the Audi and make sure they don't lock up, and Altria as well trying to battle him on the brakes. But then Duncan Moraes moves up to P6 in the Pro-Am class, and a lovely move there into turn 1. As they're coming down now, can Sam Van Ols find a way to get through as well? That's what he'll be hoping for a bit later on. Oh, good, it's big contact there. Altria tapping the rear and raise his car, and I think there Altria able to constantly carry more speed through what was 100R, but in the end the net effect is that Van Ols right now closes back up. He's got Matthew Sheraton right behind him, and well, the Goldwing Supremacy coming into full attack here as we see Slenderman, and we say hello to him in the YouTube chat, cheering on the Goldwing guys as they make the way down towards turn number 10, and just in front that is Matthew Addy fighting here hard with Slamer Jaworski and Joseph Doble looking for a cheeky run around the outside. Win, he's going to get it done. Lovely move there from Joseph Doble, catching Addy napping almost. I think Addy was too busy wrapped up and battling with Jaworski, and as a result Joseph Doble there just simply says, well, don't mind if I do, thank you, and sneaks around the outside there and makes it look like the car's absolutely glued to the tarmac. But as they make the way on through turn 15, Addy will look to come back when he can, because now he'll have the pressure of multiple Pro-Ams behind him. He's a Pro-Am himself and holding on to P5 in the class, and Moraes right there defending versus Ben Altria as they make the way onto the start finish straight. I don't think it's going to be too long before we see Addy be reeled into this fight if it carries on at its current rate of knots. But charging the way down the start finish straight, onwards they go then towards lap what is number 7, and indeed our leaders already down towards turn at number 1, but here we can see the long line of cars. Joseph Doble there under pressure, Matthew Addy. Addy looking for it. You can see the Audi's opening the legs with Sam Case's UK driver. Is he going to be able to get alongside? Well, he is, but it's not on the side he wants to be. Joseph Doble there braking extremely late. Car goes very beyond the apex, and in the end just brakes himself under pressure, and Matthew Addy takes the place back and gets it done there in the Audi. But look at Joseph Doble now to go defensive immediately as Duncan Rise tries to seize on the opportunity. Can't quite find it. Into Coca-Cola they go, but Joseph Doble under threat here as the Pro-Am field starts to encroach upon him, but right now not able to find a way through it. And is Duncan Rise going to experience a similar situation, much like teammate Sam Van Ols was versus Ben Altria only moments ago, which is his founder driver, he just can't find his way past. But speaking of Ben Altria, you can see they're going defensive into the hairpin, up the inside as well. At the same time, the best defense is a good offense, and does exactly that as Duncan Rise all out of sorts, and the Goldwing drivers now be tripping over each other once again as they battle with Altria. And Moraes still ahead of Van Ols, but Altria right now absolutely trying to glue himself into position into turn 10. You can see, look at the line he's on to the inside. That is a message being sent there, which is you're going to have to go the long way around. I refuse. And in the end, it does exactly that to hold on to Altria, and it puts Moraes out of position, and Sheraton sneaks on through there as they make the way up the hill. But does he complete the move as they go through 13 on the outside? That's going to be very hard to perform, and in the end, he's going to be run slightly out of room. A bit of contact between the two of them, and I think Duncan Moraes there did not expect Sheraton to be there, but in the end, Sheraton forced this car where perhaps he shouldn't have put it, albeit deciding to take the risk and go for the reward. And well, it was worth it, because it now does unsettle Moraes, and it means they'll be fighting through Panasonic. You can see there parking on apex slightly. Sheraton not happy about that flash of the lights, and I think these two right now seeing a little bit of red as Luke Jones closes up, and then you've got Collins, your AM leader, right on the heels as they make the way onto lap number 8. But as they come on down here, we'll stay with them for a little bit longer as Jones looking for that potential move, albeit we look to the foreground. In fact, firstly, all three wide there almost, and that is some contact between what is, I do believe, Dimitri Coulon and Lee Horn, with Jamie Dory just in front, and in Dory, I think, just taking his normal line and trying to avoid any potential interference in that battle, as he'll just simply sail his way back onto the racing line into Coca-Cola. This is a P16, and right now they're all chasing after Adam McNally for the final overall point for P15, but I don't think they're going to be able to find it. So for Jamie Duran Lehorn, out of position. But then again, when I caught up with Jamie in the build-up to today, he was saying race number 1 is all going to be out trying to finish as high as possible and just shed the weight. Meanwhile, a driver who's had it all go wrong is shedding places. That's Reese Watt, who's falling out of sorts, and I believe he's perhaps had a bit of an error at the turn 6 hairpin, so he's just dropped all the way down from what was at P7 to P10. And well, for Reese Watt, those mistakes don't come often, but when they do, it's because he's been absolutely attacking. And as he tries to find his way back past Gavin Gardner, but he's going to be swamped here as he has to go defensive through 12 versus Robrex. Robrex now forced out of position, and you see up the inside, Andrew Pike wastes no time in sneaking his Honda up the inside of another Honda, and well, Robrex of Valkyrie X now falls back to P12. A bit of opportunism there from the TSRC driver, but to be fair, he knows exactly where to put that car when he sees an opportunity. And as they make their way up the hill, getting towards Panasonic Corner, it's going to be now about the drag race on down. But as we speak of drag races, here is your leader trying to out-drag Adam Delman and Alex Meredith with 2 laps to go as he crosses the timeline to go into lap number 9. Well, the Risky Runners Racing driver is now coming under pressure from Delman, and I suspect, given our high track temperatures, it is the Hyundai Elantras that are going to struggle the most. They always struggle with track temperature above 40 degrees centigrade. Those front tyres wear more aggressively compared to their peers, and the higher the thermometer goes, well, that's exactly where you see the Elantras come away. And Meredith right now trying to hold on for his first overall win of the season. The prime driver going all in, but can he hold on for long enough here? 2 laps and counting, and Delmont, to be fair, will not want to push too hard too soon, because otherwise Russell Fowler, who is only a second behind him in P3, could intervene in this battle and start to become a third party element. But meanwhile, speaking of parties, this is Sam Bradley, who right now has found his way ahead of Jonathan Collins, and there's going to be a brief party in the SRO NXTGEN Gold garage with regards to these drivers all getting stuck into the battle. And well, Sam Bradley right now absolutely fighting hard with Jonathan Collins, but can he find a way to make some further progress to get away from Collins, because these two have been fighting absolutely back and forth for the AM win over the last 4 or 5 laps. And was ahead up the rise, Luke Jones just in front of the prime driver there, under pressure from these AMs to try and get a move on. But I think Jones might be struggling a little bit here with regards to pace. Sam Bradley now is going to have to do the hard work to try and force a move, and if he can do so, then he might be able to buy himself a car's gap between himself and Collins, and that might be enough to make him feel safe. But speaking of safety, as Sam Benolster and Benoltre battle their way down to the hairpin, it's 2 wide here in the fight for what is P5 in the prime class, and this time Altria really digging into push for this move as he goes up the hill into turn 13, defends the inside into the right-hander. It causes Benolster to fall back, and as we ride on board and look back over the rear wing of the Full Tilt Motorsport car, well, here you can see right now it's the Goldwing Motorsport pair of Benolster and Moraes working together, and Altria being made to work for every inch, every yard, every bit of ground. And well, it's going to be a look around the outside for Benolster, but he goes too deep into the corner. That's going to cost him a lot of time on exit. But then again, Matthew Addy is 1.6 seconds up the road, so Altria has no toe to work with. But meanwhile, we must look to the front of the field because it's the final lap, and this is Meredith versus Delman as they battle on the brake into turn 1. Delman's going to try and go around the outside to take the overall lead. He can't find it. Meredith runs him out of room. In the end, he's legally allowed to because Delman wasn't fully alongside. And as they make their way down towards turn number 3, we can see Russell Fowler now only 4 tenths of the back of this battle. This top 3 absolutely building up to a crescendo as they make the way on down through 3, 4 and in towards 5. Isaac Doble, meanwhile, in P4 is clear enough from Benjamin McCluskey by a half a second right now. I think to feel as though this P4 is coming his way, bar a mistake of some description. But as they head up the rise, we'll keep an eye on that battle as everybody right now absolutely giving it all on the final lap of this race. But we stay looking at the leaders as they head on down here, and Meredith trying to hold on for another overall win. He's had 1 in his NXTCC career. He's trying to make another one here as he heads on down, but it's going to be Delman who'll be insistent to try and take that overall win, because the pros only get points at overall positions. They don't have their own class points available to them, whereas the primes and the AMs do. But Alex Meredith right now not giving in, and as they make the way up the hill, it's going to be a long serpentine here. But where can Delman go for it? Can he go for it, or will it be the drag race out Panasonic Corner that's going to be the difference here as they make the way up into next bend? You can see Meredith's tyres are really struggling at this point. He hasn't got much compound left, but to be fair, if he can nail the run out of Panasonic, he will be safe, albeit for the first half of the straight. But Delman is absolutely close. There's a bit of a loss of the rear end there, there. Some oversteer on exit, and Fowler goes wide. But I think Meredith at this point has done enough, as Delmont getting too close for comfort, and they head down the start finish straight. The checker flag gets ready to wave, and it is going to be a win for Risky Runners Racing overall, and it will be Alex Meredith who brings it home for the checker flag here in race number a day. Overall and prime winner, Adam Delmont P2 ahead of Russell Fowler, with Isaac Doble P4 ahead of Benjamin McCluskey and Wojciech Swirydowicz. It'll then be Larice Pascucci with season best performance at P7 for Valkyrie Excite ahead of Reese Watt, with Gavin Garnett and Mikey Doble completing your top 10. Best of the rest was Andrew Pike P11, Tom Davidson on his debut P13, second place prime, ahead of Alan McCain, third place prime driver. Meanwhile, further down the order, it is going to be Sam Bradley who takes P28, and by 100th will take the AM win over Jonathan Collins, who you can see that just in the foreground in front of him in their close battle. And third place in the AM class goes to Daniel Fritz for another double podium for the Whiskey Runners Racing AM team. And well, we've still got a few drivers to finish their race, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome on through. And to Lewis Mason and Mark Kent fighting side by side to the line, but it is Mark Kent who takes P40 just ahead of Mason P41. And we have had 3 retirements in this race: Mark Sykes, Liam Silkstone and Jake Pitt. They're all in the pit lane, and we'll have to see whether they'll be classified afterwards. But as we look from the back of the field to the front of the running field, Alex Meredith with an absolutely sensational start to his day here in Japan, with pole position overall and then the win in race number 1. Well, the Whiskey Runners Racing driver does not do things by halves at Fuji, and it shows with an absolutely deserved win. Adam Delmont, to be fair, had all the pace in the last couple of laps, but too close out the final corner, and in the end lost all the momentum onto the start finish straight. But still a P2 there for the SO NXTGEN Gold driver will definitely bolster his championship aspirations already, and give him the confidence that going into race number 2, this could be the day where he strikes back and tries to attack that top 4 in the overall Drivers' Championship. Meanwhile, further down the order, well, we do look to what was Tom Davidson, a great debut for the Sim Racing Collective driver in what was a P13, so some overall points for the team and himself, and also second place in the prime class. He couldn't ask for better other than the class win, but then again, it wasn't to be, and Alan McCain keeping him honest every step of the way. And well, also we need to talk a little bit about Russell Fowler, a bit of an unsung hero of this race. P3, started there, finished there, but to be fair, did exactly what he needed to do for Performance Link Esports, which is show what he can do at Fuji once again. And well, the 61 driver will be happy with his first podium of the season. And in the AM class, Sam Bradley and Jonathan Collins, they ran each other ragged every step of the way. But in the end, the SO NXTGEN Gold driver has finally taken his first AM win of the season. It's only taken 3 rounds, but he's made it happen, and Collins will know that Bradley is not to be underestimated. Not that he was underestimating, but Bradley now getting that first win, that'll be the thing that releases him from that torment of not knowing whether it will come. As Kevin Smith as well, not really talked about over the race, but went all the way from the back of the grid to P4 in the AM class. Well done to the 94 driver, and I suspect he's going to be one to watch out for in race number 2, because if he can make progress like that in race 1, could he be on course to the win in race 2 in the AM class? We'll have to see. But with that, ladies and gentlemen, let's take you through those race results subject to any stewards' inquiries, and here they are. So after 10 laps of racing in race 1 of round 3 of the NXTCC Season 7, Alex Meredith, your prime and overall winner for Whiskey Runners Racing by 7 tenths at the line over SO NXTGEN Gold Adam Delmont. P3 overall went to Russell Fowler for Performance Link Esports, and there was a further 2 seconds to Isaac Doble, who did valiantly for Doble Sim Racing to keep the long train of Benjamin McCluskey for NXTGEN Pink, Wojciech Swirydowicz for Semper Racing, Larice Pascucci for Valkyrie Excite, Reese Watt for JW Motorsport, Gavin Garner for NXTGEN Pink, and Mikey Doble for Doble Sim Racing, who completed the top 10, but Russell Fowler kept all of them behind despite their intentions. Andrew Pike only a further what was 4 tenths off his P11 best the rest of the Sim Racing Collective, who have no ballast in the car going to race number 2, and he'll be happy with that. Jonathan Robrek started P10, finished P12, the Valkyrie Excite driver. Well, no, he lost some points, but still a good start to the day in Japan. We look forward to seeing plenty more from him in race number 2. And Tom Davidson, P13 overall for the Sim Racing Collective, but more importantly for him, P2 in the Prime class there in his first race of the season. It just fended off iRacing Esports' Alan McCain at the line by 1.2 seconds, and Alan McCain round off that pro and podium of Meredith, Davidson and McCain. Adam Manley completed your overall top 15, the last of the overall point scorers there for SO NXTGEN Gold, and then we have to go all the way to the end of the top 20 with Lee Horn for Sam Case for NXTGEN, just steering clear of Patrick Falconer, who seemed to struggle in qualifying and made some progress in the race with a P17 for JW Motorsport. And it was Jamie Dory, Slamir Javoski and Joe Doble who completed your top 20. Outside the top 20, Matthew Addy at P21, 4th place in Prime for Sam Case of the Next Gen, fighting hard to get that place back. But in the end, aided to a degree by the ongoing battle between Ben Altrier, who round off the Prime top 5 for Full Tilt Motorsport, and the Goldwyn Motorsport pair of Sam Verdolst and Duncan Rise in some absolutely brilliant battling between them. Matthew Sheridan for Aztec Racing was P25 ahead of Luke Jones, with Dimitri Coulon on his debut for Valkyrie Excite falling down to P27, but he's still got 2 more races to go and it's all a learning experience today. But he just finished ahead of the AM class winner Sam Bradley, taking his first AM win of the season in the number 69 for SRL Next Gen Gold. And from his nice performance, meanwhile, we do then have just behind Jonathan Collins, P29 2nd place and for Whiskey Runners Racing by a 10th. Sam Smith P30 for iRace Esports and James Spencer's for Aztec Racing P31 split up the AM podium, with Daniel Fritz being your last podium finisher for the AM class P32 for Whiskey Runners Racing. Now as Michael Lees, Kevin Smith and Toby Prosser completed your top 35 just ahead of Costa Chatscontinental for 287 Motorsport, who started from the back of the field but made his way into P36. Marcel Fritz just behind him at line P37 ahead of Roy Plummer. And then to round off our finishers on the lead lap, ladies and gentlemen, Mitchell West, Mark Kennefish P40 and Lewis Mason P41. Just missed out on the P40 finish there by what was 200ths. We also had classified as finishers as they completed over half the race distance. Liam Silkstone 2 laps down for SRL Next Gen Gold, and Mark Sykes for Sam Case of Next Gen at 3 laps down. Jake Pitt, however, a 44 starter, classified as a non-finisher as he did not complete over half the race distance, having only completed 4 laps at Aztec Racing. But with that, that concludes our finishing order for race number 1, and we've still got 2 more races to come, ladies and gentlemen, so don't despair, plenty more racing on the cards at Fuji International Speedway, and we'll be back in approximately 7 to 8 minutes time for the build up to race number 2. But as we do step away, here's a word from our title sponsor for this season. It's none other than Doble Motorcycles. We'll see you very shortly. If you are looking to buy your next 2-wheeled machine or ATV, why not consider Doble Motorcycles? Home to an expansive full range of Honda motorcycles, scooters, off-road bikes and ATVs, Doble Motorcycles is the UK's leading Honda motorcycle dealer. However, do not just take our word for it. Having won numerous awards over the years, including 3 Motorcycle News Dealer of the Year awards, and being nominated for many more, including Honda Dealer of the Year 4 times, the Doble family-run business prides itself on customer service, and it shows. Add to this the family's rich racing history through 3 generations, as currently embodied by Mikey Doble Racing, with Mikey chasing glory in the BTCC, and you can be certain that you will receive excellent customer service from lights out to checkered flag. So if you'd like to know more, check out their website today at doble.co.uk. Speaking of Mikey Doble Racing, if you'd like to support Mikey as he pushes it to the limit out on track, you can do so by following the Mikey Doble Racing Facebook page as seen on screen. Additionally, if you want to represent the 88 Army at a BTCC weekend, Mikey Doble Racing has some fantastic merchandise available just for you, as may be found either via the Mikey Doble Racing Facebook page, or alternatively in the Doble Motorcycle store at dobledirect.co.uk. Don't miss out on being a part of the 88 Army today. And we return, ladies and gentlemen, for the hotly anticipated race number 2 here at the Fuji International Speedway. And what a race one we had for the third round of the NXTCC Season 7. In the fact, it was absolutely back and forth inside the top 10 and even outside of it with some stellar performances wherever you looked. And I suspect we are going to see plenty more in our second race of the day. But one of the standout performances, of course, was by none other than this man, who you can see here, of Alex Meredith, as he makes his way on through at turn number 3 in towards 4. And we're going to see if we can grab a quick word from Meredith whilst he's behind the wheel of his Hyundai Elantra to ask him his thoughts on what was a very well-driven race number 1, no doubt about it. And as he makes his way on through at turn 6 and 7, I'm going to see if we can get a patch through to his car now with regards to having a word with him. And I suspect we will be able to as we try to grab a word with Alex. Alex, you got a moment for a quick word?
Yeah, sure.
Alex, an absolutely superb race number 1, putting it on pole position in qualifying and then running it all the way through to victory. I mean, you've always gone strongly at Fuji in the past. It must feel like your second home at this point.
Yeah, it's always been a track I've enjoyed, and I think the Elantra goes around quite well around here, as it always loves the medium speed corners. I'm not going to pretend it wasn't stressful. It was definitely not the case. I was just watching my mirrors the whole time, but yeah, pretty enjoyable race and clean fighting.
Oh, without a doubt. And towards the end there, we did see Adam Delmont come quite strong the last couple of laps. It's been a hot circuit so far today. Has that really been biting at the front tyres for you?
To be honest, the front tyres weren't the issue. I think it was my nerves that were more the issue. I was sort of just overthinking every braking zone, going, do this, do that, don't do this. And it's much better when you're in sort of a natural flow. When you're under pressure, it's a lot more difficult to get into that flow. I just wasn't in it. I was just watching my mirror.
Well, that's absolutely fair. I'd appreciate the honesty there. But race number 2 is coming up. You're going in with the maximum possible success ballast, so that Elantra's going to have to go some on the uphill rise in the last half a lap. Could we expect back-to-back wins for yourself?
I would be very, very surprised, and I'd probably have to get in the Porsche safety car to do that, to be honest, with this weight. Yeah, I think it would be lucky if I got into the top 10. It's going to be a very difficult race, especially around this circuit. But yeah, we'll just see how it goes.
All right, Alex, we wish you all the best, and we'll see you at the checkered flag.
Thank you.
So hearing that there from Alex, and let's quickly hear from another one of our stars in race number 1, who wasn't really on camera, to be fair to him, and therefore I think he deserves his turn in the spotlight. None other than Kevin Smith, and as he makes his way on at the run up the hill towards the start-finish line, let's get a quick word with Kevin as we try to patch through to the car. Evening to you, Kevin. Have you got time for a quick word or two?
Yeah, I've got time to have a chat with you, Paul.
Kevin, a fantastic performance in race number 1, starting from the back of the field to come through to 4th in the AM class of Verano Motorsport. I mean, you're the only Verano guy here today, but you're definitely doing the team justice. How do you feel about your race 1?
Race 1 it wasn't too bad. I was expecting a bit of contact between cars, so my strategy was just not to qualify and run from the back and kind of pick it up from there. So I've got the pace to run with the rest of the AM guys and probably his back end of the Pro-Am.
Well, sounds like you've got plenty of pace up your sleeve, so in race 2, can we expect you to go for AM victory?
That's the goal, definitely going for the victory, and take advantage of the other guys having the weight as well.
Well, Kevin, you could be dangerously fast out there. We wish you all the best, and we'll see you at the checkered flag.
Thank you very much.
So hearing there from Kevin Smith, ladies and gentlemen, and well, sounding absolutely positive, no doubt about it. But that's a quick word with a couple of our stars from race number 1, and we're going to now try and catch up with the race in here as all tries to get set and ready to go once again. We're only a few seconds away from going to the grid for race number 2, and as we do, well, let's see what everyone's able to achieve out there. I can see in the YouTube chat, Costa Chats Continental is feeling good. He's looking forward to race number 2 based on his uphill ride through race number 1. But here we go then, ladies and gentlemen, race number 2 coming up, and who is going to be your winner? Let's find out. So as our drivers make their way onto the grid, this is how they line up for race 2 of the day. It is Alex Meredith who takes his second pole position of the day for Whiskey Runners Racing, joined on the front row of the grid by Adam Delmont for SO NXTGEN Gold, and keep an eye on, of course, Meredith both overall and pro and pole sitter, and Delmont the leading pro. And I suspect we'll see some sparks between the two of them in the run down towards turn 1. Russell Fowler starts P3 for Performance Link Esports in a solid race one, but now he's got all the weight in the car, and will he be able to fend off the fast charging Wojciech Doble for Doble Sim Race, who starts P4? The same question could be asked to Benjamin McCluskey for Next Gen Pink versus Wojciech Swirydowicz for Semper Racing. Swirydowicz will have seen the weight halved out the car, and therefore could we see the number 1 driver return to the top step? Loris Pascucci starts P7 for Valkyrie X-Type, some great progress in P9 in race 1. He'll know that there's a little more progress to come perhaps in race 2, but he'll be battling against the weight this time. Respot starts P8 for JW Motorsport, meanwhile alongside, and then your top 10 is completed by Gavin Gardner for Next Gen Pink and Doble Sim Racing's Mikey Doble. Best of SP11 is Andrew Pike for the Sim Racing Collective, the first of the unburdened cars, and therefore looking to go on the attack from the outset. He'll have the company of Valkyrie X-Type's Jonathan Roberts, who went backwards in race 1 from P10. Can he get back to P10 or higher in race number 2? And then come on to row number 7. Tom Davidson starts there, P13 for the Sim Racing Collective. He'll have his first taste of success ballast weight in this race, and he'll be joined there by Alan McCain, P2, P3 in the Prime class, P13, P14 on the grid. And behind the iRacing Esports drive, we have Adam McNally for SO and Next Gen Gold, who we can see the 478 drive have the company of Lee Horn for Sam Cases with Next Gen, and I suspect there'll be no love lost between the two of them as they battle elbows out into turn 1. Patrick Falconer starts P17 for JW Motorsport with the company of Jamie Dory for Next Gen Pink alongside on the 9th row of the grid, and your top 20 is rounded off by Slawomir Jalwowski for Semper Racing and Doble Sim Racing's Joseph Doble. P21 goes the way of Matthew Addy for Sam Cases with Next Gen in a resilient drive to P4 in the Prime class in race number 1. He'll be looking to do more of the same again versus Ben Altru, starts P22 for Full Tilt B Motorsport in the second race of the day. We now have Sam Van Ol starting P23 for Goldwing Motorsport, joined by teammate Duncan Rays on the 12th row of the grid. And then behind them on row number 13, it's Matthew Sheraton for Aztec Racing and the Welshman of Luke Jones for JW Motorsport. Then it'll be Dimitri Coulon, P27, ahead of SRO Next Gen Gold's Sam Bradley. The Valkyrie X-Type driver having to fend off the number 69 driver, but he's also going to have to fend off there not just the AM winner for race 1, but also the runner-up in the AM class of Jonathan Collins for Whiskey Runners Racing. With your top 30 completed by Sam Smith for iRacing Esports, who joins Collins on the 15th row. James Smassersgal starts P31 for Aztec Racing ahead of Daniel Fritz for Whiskey Runners Racing, with Michael Lees P33 for JW Motorsport ahead of Kevin Smith for Rhino Motorsport. Watch out for Smith, we reckon he's going to try and make his way through to victory, as he said in his pre-race interview. We'll then have what is Toby Prosser P35 for Aztec Racing, joined on the 18th row of the grid by Costa Chatscontinental for 287 Motorsport. He'll then be on row number 19 Marcel Fritz for WS Racing Esports and Roy Plummer for Next Gen Red. Top 40s round off by Mitchell West for Mitch West Performance and Mark Kent's Full Tilt V Motorsport Machine. Lewis Mason starts P41 for Aztec Racing ahead of Liam Silkstone for SO and Next Gen Gold. And on the final 4 of the grid, after a dismal race 1, it's Mark Sykes for Sam Case for Next Gen, and last but not least, Jake Pitt for Aztec Racing. But that's the field set, ladies and gentlemen. We look down to the front of the grid once again, and well, familiar pictures from race number 1, no doubt about it, and we're only 10 seconds away from the lights going on. It's Alex Meredith on the right once more, and it's going to be Adam Delmont on the left, but for them, it'll be reversed as the camera pans on down and the lights get triggered. But here we go then, ladies and gentlemen. The cloud comes over Fuji for race number 2. The circuit calls, but will it be cool tempers? Well, after 3 lights, 4 lights, 5 lights, it's time to find out, as it's going to be lights out and away we go for the second time today. And Alex Meredith this time a slower start, the weight immediately compounding, but Adam Delmont once again gets a reasonable launch, but then loses out in the second phase as Meredith finally picks up the pieces. But as they all come down to the braking zone, look at Russell Fowler, he goes between the two of them. It's a lovely move from Fowler here as he tries to go for it, but he loses it under braking and goes deep, and as they make the way on the run through the King of 2, he's going to drop down the order here as they make the way onwards towards turn number 3. Fowler went all in as the field makes its way in towards Coca-Cola corner, and everyone keeping their cool and carry on. As meanwhile, that's Reese Watt, who's on an attacking stride here for P8 as he tries to attack at the inside of Luis Pascucci but can't quite find it. But Watt falls back in there, and Watt deciding, well, if you don't risk it, you can't get the biscuit, and goes all in and tries to take the position, but in the end doesn't lose anything for it. But you can see that Pascucci going defensive as Alex Meredith starts to fall down the order as he predicted. That weight cost him dear, already down to P7, and as Pascucci moves up into P6, the whole field now makes its way through, but Orva drives safely through the opening few corners. And meanwhile, in the AM class further back, we can see Sam Bradley here here, up in the P26. Jonathan Collins chasing after him, but look at that gap that's opened up as they all come down to the braking zone for the first time here, and as the field does, well, it's all going to be nip and tuck here as all the drivers make the way through. Meredith falling in behind Pascucci once again, but the field surviving the Dunlop chicane hairpin. Lovely to see. Oh, goodness me, it's all gone wrong there in the rear of the picture, as that is Chats Continental, Sykes, also Kent there all coming together, and well, Mark Kent can't seem to get a break when it comes to the first lap here at Fuji. It always seems to bite him as he takes the escape road, and well, as the three drivers trying to make amends. Meanwhile, we look back up to the lead pack, the top 10 here, as it makes its way towards the end of lap number 1. A brilliant lap 1, oh goodness me, and that is Jamie Dory being propelled sideways out to the final corner. He's been sent off into the distance. We'll have to try and understand what exactly happened there in due course, but after one lap of racing, it is Adam Delmont who leads by 4 tenths as he makes a charge to the inside there towards the pit wall, leaves it late in order to make sure he doesn't lose any straight line speed, and well, as he does so, Isaac Doble coming through with an absolute hot head of steam in that Honda, but not close enough to make the move. He stays P2. Russell Fowler P3, but not for long as Wojciech Swirydowicz dives to the inside into the opening hairpin. He gets into P3, so Fowler falls to P4. Meanwhile, Benjamin McCluskey P5 also looking for the move here as Maurice Pascucci 1.2 seconds back. As they head in towards the braking zone, where it's going to be Fowler on the inside, McCluskey on the outside here, but Indian Fowler will get ahead. Pascucci, meanwhile, P6, fending off Watt ahead of Mikey Doble in P8. Then it's Alex Meredith, your prime leader, P9, and then Andrew Pike completion top 10 with Gavin Garner, best of rest, P11 as they come on through. Meanwhile, in the question of who's P2 in the prime class, which Duncan Rice has had a brilliant start to this race, 8 places gained overall, and with it as well, gaining what is plenty of places in the prime class, and the Goldwing Motorsport driver has got Alan McCain for company here, but meanwhile, it looks as though Tom Davidson falling a long way down the order of the P21. So right now, Murray has absolutely struck gold at the start of this race for Goldwing Motorsport, and well, he'll be grinning from ear to ear if he brings this home as they head down towards the hairpin. But as they do, you can see Alan McCain down under pressure from Joe Doble as the whole field now goes line astern this time through. Albeit Murray's almost up on 2 wheels in the front there through contact with another driver, and as they head on for 11 and 12, well, meanwhile, teammate Sam Van Olds finds it all good as speed. It's all kicked off there, and that Sam Bradley who's gone around. Yes, it is Bradley doing a 360 spin and pulling it off with a plum. We'll get 10 out of 10 for style points there, but it won't be a stylish end as there's contact between Smith and Bradley coming on through turn number 13. Smith gives the place back, decides to steer clear, but it's the suspension damage for Smith as he steers completely off the road. Meanwhile, that is, I believe, is that the car of Liam Silkstone that's been sent wide of Nets Ben? It's absolute pandemonium on the run up the hill through what is turns 14 and 15 for the second time of asking, and as a result of all of it, well, dare I believe it, Mitchell West, my eyes do not deceive me, Mitch West Performance's 101 driver is leading the AM class, and this is the first time this season he's led a lap in the AMs. He comes across the line. We've got James Mansescal going into the pit, shoots damage on the car, so a number of drivers have been wounded, but as they make their way down, not Mitchell West, he carries on, and we'll have to try and get a replay of what exactly happened there. But as they head on down, you can see in the rear of the picture more fighting. That's Sam Bradley in a 3 wide with Jake Peer, the prime driver trying to make his way through, and Bradley versus Fritz, when in Fritz outrunning Bradley, but to be fair, he outbrakes himself as well, and Bradley will obligingly take the place of him. Pitt also comes through, and Bradley, with all that success ballast in the car, it is going to impact him quite significantly, but he's doing a great job of managing the car right now, but we don't know what damage is on the car after that spin coming out of turn 12 on the previous lap. But as they head down through turns 14 and down to turns 4 and 5, I'm getting ahead of myself there in terms of corner numbers. We also see Marcel Fritsch looking for an opportunity to try and find his way through. Those racing esports driver looking for an opportunity as he heads in towards the left hand of turn number 6, but as he does so, looking as though right now the Austrian driver really getting stuck in versus Fritz and Pitt, and whilst he may be a pro driver versus some AMs and pro-AMs, to be fair to him, he's enjoying the racing all the same, and it's great to see him here getting stuck in with his rivals as they head down towards the hairpin for the 3rd time on this race. Through the right hand they go, no moves forthcoming this time, and it does seem as though everybody has calmed down a little bit. But in terms of that calmness, meanwhile at the front of the field, Wojciech Swirydowicz has off camera found his way into P2 ahead of Isaac Doble. That occurred at the start of this lap, was weird to understand it, and Delmont continued to hold on here, but Swirydowicz with a lighter car now going full attack, and well, Swirydowicz always prided himself on making sure to be consistent across those results where the wins may not be forthcoming, but right now it definitely looks as though that win could be coming here if he's able able to find his way past the SO NXTGEN Gold driver, but Delmont is no pushover. We'll give you that as they head on down, but on that lap, 4 tenths faster. Swirydowicz to the toe, plus the success balance difference means that Swirydowicz will be on the inside into the hairpin. And what I think here, Delmont is going to simply just let it go on the proviso that he'll be able to stay in the draft of Swirydowicz and potentially come back at him later in the race, but most importantly, not bring Wojciech Doble or anybody else into this fight. But as they go side by side into Coca-Cola, Delmont's not giving up here. Swirydowicz being made to work for this around the outside. This will push the top 3 back towards the rest of the top 10. You can see there, look at Wojciech Doble looking on the inside, looks for it, gets sideways on the grass there at turn 4, the front right tyre not gripping up. And as we ride on board here with the number 65, it's the top 3 of Hondas, but they're all taking very different approaches to lap here at Fuji. It's brilliant to see all the different amounts of weight in the car, and 3 drivers of very different age levels as well. And it goes to show you here in the fact they're all giving it their everything. And Wojciech Doble, one of the youngest drivers on this grid, but right now mixing it up against some of the veterans of this grid as they head down towards turn number 10. And well, no way through this time, but definitely eager to try and chase that overall win here in this second race of the day. As they come on through the hairpin into chicane sequence, Benjamin McCluskey only 1 second off now. And meanwhile, further down the order, we can see Tom Davidson here trying to chase after Matthew Addy as they make the way up the rise. But as they do, well, here comes Joseph Doble looking up the inside, dives the inside into 13. And I think Davidson at this point will let it go, but he makes a bit of a ham sandwich of it, does Joseph Doble, in the end taking way too much apex curve, and that unsettles the car and lets Davidson get back ahead. But I can imagine the number 42 driver will be muttering under his breath, while you're going for the move or not, because you're costing us both time. He goes for it again, does Doble, but into Panasonic here, and that is going to give Matthew Addy over a second's worth of gap. And Davidson right now, I think the frustration is brewing here, as now Slamir Jarvosky is going to tuck into the toe, and as they make the way down the start finish straight, it looks as though Jarvosky's going to pull to the middle of the road. No, he cuts one way, then the other. And these 3 right now, 3 wide, using the full width of the start finish straight. Keep it clean and straight, lads, as they head down towards turn number 1. But as they do, which one is going to be the ones that outbrake the other? Jarvosky's got the advantage on the inside, but he's going to be on a very narrow line. Joseph Doble trying to open his door right up now. And as they turn on in, Jarvosky's not going to budge an inch, let alone a mile. And in the end, he'll make it work. And it's a 2-for-1 pass here from the number 99, or is it? As Joseph Doble comes back at him in the fight for P20. Keep in mind, these places are critical now for these drivers to be in that reverse grid for the final race today. Doble back on the inside into Coca-Cola corner. Jarvosky goes slightly wide there, but it's going to be Joseph Doble's place, and Jarvosky moves back to P21, but he's ahead of Tom Davidson, who meanwhile has got Sam Knowles creeping ahead there, but Jarvosky goes deep at 5, and in turn it's going to open up another 2-way battle, and Knowles is going to very rapidly go around the outside and bring that battle to a halt, and Sam Knowles moves up into what is P6 of the Pro-Am class, P21 overall, and the Belgian driver here making amends for a difficult race number 1. But as they head down towards what is turn number 10, making the way on through, we need to take a look back shortly at what exactly happened on the lead lap, but we can't do that when we've got Reese Watt off the road there at the hairpin, where he's been propelled out into distance. We'll take to the escape road, but what exactly happened to the number 32 drivers? He tries to get through, that's punishing there with such the awful steering lock of these TCR cars. He eventually gets on through it, and as he brings it back together, now down to P30, and his day going from good to bad to disastrous in this race, as meanwhile Alan McCain, oh my goodness, and McCain, and what is there? I do believe Duncan Rise in the end getting very close to each other, and that is going to be Joseph Doble. Joseph Doble has no luck there and gets taken with McCain as he tries to take evasive action, but McCain gets the car straightened, and that's going to push them a long way down, push them outside the top 20. And well, Matthew Addy has got up into P2 in the primes. He's up to P15 with Duncan Rise right behind him, and as the long pack makes its way down the start finish straight here, when it's all to play for, and really right now these drivers are all fighting for a spot inside that reverse grid, depending on what number is drawn, but these are all eligible positions. And it's absolute bedlam here outside the top 15, or to be into the top 15, as that is going to be Ben Altria up the inside of Matthew Addy. Keep in mind that Addy's got more weight in the car here, and right now Altria moving up the inside. Duncan Rice also looking for an opportunity as they all fight for P2 in the Pro-Am class here. It's a long line of Pro-Am cars, and at the front of it, Altria and Addy fighting hard for that coveted second place on the podium. But going for the left-hander, Altria will get into P15. He will get ahead and go for the overall point. But as they come on down, we need to take a look back at some instants, and this is looking back quickly to lap number 1, and this was the instant towards the back of the field in the AM class between Mark Sykes, Mark Kent and Costa Chatsconstantu under braking. Kent in front, Costa Chatsconstantu coming in very late on the brakes there and sending what's Kent around, and Sykes taking evasive action and in the end gets the car stopped, but it cost all 3 drivers massive amounts of time there. A frustrating one. I don't think any malice was meant, but definitely one that might be reviewed by the stewards after the race. Meanwhile, also on the lead lap, we had Jamie Dury taking a trip to the runoff there at Panasonic corner, but what exactly triggered that is the question. And well, on the inside they're battling with what was the number 96, the Doble Motorsport car, in the end propelling its rival out, albeit no malice meant there either, and that was Patrick Falcon and Dory who came to blows. And as we return to your live racing pictures, we may get a replay of some of the incidents that happened recently on lap number 6, including what was Reese number 1, in fact on lap number 5, and here is a quick replay as to what happened to Reese only moments ago. And that was in contact with the 57 of Andrew Pike, and in the end what just been turned across the front of Pike, and well, all the drivers here definitely hastening the pace, but in turn now some elbows coming out and some drivers falling victim to them as a result. As we do return to your live pictures, and we stand with the race in action now all the way to the end as our drivers make the way down the start, finish straight in the midfield, but meanwhile your leaders have already cleared the opening corner on lap number 7, and Wojciech Swirydowicz leading this race for Semper Racing by 7.5 tenths over Adam Delman and Mikey Doble, now up into P3 with brother Isaac just behind. And well, the Doble brothers pushing for a double podium here. That will be their target to not just help their own individual championship aspirations, but also help Doble Sim Racing, who've fallen a long way down the championship order. Well, I've got an opportunity today to make amends for what was a difficult round number 2 in Germany last time out. But meanwhile, a bit further back, Andrew Pike, after that contact a bit earlier with Reese Watt, now fighting with Pascucci. He's going to get very close to the apex. And in the end, Pascucci tries to squeeze the door shut, but Pike puts his foot in there, or the nose of the car. And as they make the way on through, Pascucci is still holding on for now. The Valkyrie Excite driver eager to make this P7 his own. It's where he started, it's where he wants to finish. And Pike's going to say no to that as he goes hard on the brakes here into the hairpin. Pascucci looks around the outside, the two come to blows, they ride on each other, and they both take to the grass in the end. And well, as they rejoin, it's going to be lost places for both of them, but Pascucci will rejoin in P9. Meredith comes on through here, the lead prime driver to move into P10, but Pike's going to have something to say about it very quickly as he looks up the inside to NXTGEN. And Meredith right now, I don't think wants to get in anybody's way as they all make the way out the hill. Roberts goes a bit deep, that's going to be McNally, and Roberts battling for position. Adam McNally gets on the inside, but does send Roberts wide. Roberts flashes his lights there, and I wonder if McNally will give the place back, and I think in the end he's going to let Roberts get alongside him down Panasonic, but it's not going to work out for Roberts. A flash of lights there, and Roberts not too happy with how that place has been gained, but as they head on down, I'm sure they'll sort it out after the race if they don't sort it on track. But from them, we look to P2, driver Adam Delman under pressure from Mikey Doble, who looks up the inside, and well, it's going to be on the brakes. And in the end, I think Mikey's going to have all he needs here to claim P2 off a very heavy SO NXTGEN Gold car. And Delman drops to P3 there, doesn't put up too much of a fight, makes Mikey work for it to a degree, but also knows at the end of the day he can still bring home a third place and a place on the overall podium. And for Delman, that'll be a huge points injection after that superb drive to second place in race number 1. But from them, as they head on down through turns 4 and 5, we look a little bit further down the order, and this is Sam Smith still fighting with Joseph Doble for P24. Matthew Cheverton in the last of the potential reverse good positions in P23, just in front of them for Aztec Racing. Behind you've got Luke Jones and Alan McCain having their own little squabble for what is effectively at P11 in the Pro-Am class, and Smith is P10 Pro-Am. And falling into this as we see Cheverton going slowly there, I think going deep more than slowly, and in the end it now falls back into the clutch of this, and suddenly it's a big battle for P23 all over again, and they'll all be hoarding after it like seagulls after chips at the seaside, in the fact they'll all want to claim P23 as mine. But as they make the way onwards towards turn at number 10, we're making the way down towards the hairpin here. It looks like Joseph Doe has been able to establish some continuity, but look at Cheverton, pulls the inside, going on the brakes here. I think this is as much defense as it is offense. Too wide, they're going towards the apex, right into left, and it's going to be now Jones who comes back at him, but Cheverton's kept his line to the inside into 12. Lovely work there from Cheverton, and holds onto the position. But as they head up the hill, meanwhile, just behind them, here's your AM leader, Mitchell West. And the Mitch West Performance driver right now P28 ahead of Reese Watt, and Jonathan Collins just behind Watt. So right now it will be for West. He's got to try and keep Watt behind him for a little bit longer to feel safe and not have the pressure on Collins all the way to the end of this race. But could West be on course for his first ever AM win, where he's only 2 laps away from potentially making it so? And I think that'll be a huge confidence boost there for the 101 driver. As meanwhile we look back up the order, and as we do, we'll be looking up to Matthew Addy as he has the goal we most Motorsport army behind him, and that is both Duncan Rise and Sam Van Olst pushing each other along here. It's a battle of the Audis, two of whom are bump drafting each other. Down towards turn 1 they go, and onto the brakes, and Addy is going to have Moraes on the inside. Moraes are getting the elbows out slightly, trying to give Van Olst a bit more of an opportunity, but look at Slamir Jarvosky in the Semper Racing. Elantra also trying to get involved there, but Addy will lose the place in the end. And as we jump on board here, looking over the nose of the number 92, well, Van Olst once again finding that whilst his teammate can get on through, he can't himself make his way past the stubborn rival. And I think this really has been the story of the day for Sam Van Olst so far in 2 races, in the fact that he makes some progress, but it's just not enough. Although this is going to be enough, as Matthew Addy there takes a trip to the grass almost, and well, Van Olst in the end will get the cutback rung out of the hairpin. It's a lovely setup here, and Addy under pressure makes an error. It's so easy to do out of turn number 5, just puts too much understeer in the car, and as they head down through turn 8 into 9, Van Olst is going to have the golden opportunity to look around the outside onto the brakes, and he's going to go all in. If he wants this, he will go for it, but Van Olst, all he's got to do is commit here into turn 11, because he was ahead at the apex at turn number 10, and he gets the move done, and Slamir Jarvosky now will do the damage in getting alongside here and trying to force what will be a move on Addy, but in the end it's going to be Michael Lees who comes back at him in that JW Motorsport Elantra, looking all gleaming under his hands today, and as they make their way through 15, side by side the two go over the rise, and will still side by side go, oh goodness me, and that is contact between Joe Doble and what is that, I believe, unless I'm mistaken, was it the car, well I think it might have been the car of Toby Prosser unless I'm mistaken, but again I couldn't quite see which car it was, whether it was an Aztec Racing car or else, but as they make the way to the start for this straight, the final lap is upcoming, and well now for our drivers it's all about the final yards, including in the AM class for Mitchell West here, as he does have Jonathan Collins only 4 attempts behind, closing little by little. But the one thing that West does have to his advantage is the fact that he's got the toe of the cars in front, and also he doesn't have any success balance in the car compared to his rivals. But will that be enough to keep him safe as that white flag waves? Behind them you've got Jake Pitt and Joseph Doble battling hard, as the Aztec Racing driver on the outside is going to let the Double Sim Racing driver take that apex, tries to cut it back, but Joseph Doble parks it on apex there and says no you don't, I've seen that one coming from a mile away. I think Pitt at this point will want to try and go around the outside to get the move done. It's Coca-Cola Core, that's going to be brave if he goes for it, but then decides not to, goes for another cutback. A lovely setup here from the number 15, and as the Welshman makes his way through, Joseph Doble fully defensive all the way round, and the two come together, but I think Doble had lost the rear of the car on the grass on the apex of 4, and Pitt in the end just happened to be in the wrong place at the right time to collect him and take him off the road. But meanwhile it's 2 by 2 as we look a bit further up the road in the battle for P20. This is a P6 in the prime class between Lees, Davidson, Smith and Prosser. Prosser looking for a move here as they all come down onto the anchors. It's going to be Smith late on the brakes. He dares iRacing Esports, gets side by side, but Prosser not giving in, and just behind him is Matthew Cheverton as they make the way up the hill. And I think right now Ryan Barley cheering on the AT. I'll be loving to see this, but as they come out of the it's turn 12, we must look to your leaders, ladies and gentlemen, because right now as they make the way out the final corner, well, he started inside the top 5, and in the end it was his goal to make it victory in race number 2, as he always tries to, and Swirydowicz does exactly that, because of Semper Racing, Wojciech Swirydowicz takes the win in race 2 ahead of Mikey Doble, and it's Adam Delman who completes your top 3 ahead of Isaac and Benjamin McCluskey to round off the top 5. Russell Fowler P6 ahead of Gavin Connor and Lee Horn, with Andrew Pike and Larice Pascucci completing your top 10. Patrick Falcon at P11, John from Robrex P12, and Alex Meredith makes it back-to-back prime wins from P13 for Whiskey Runners Racing. Ahead of Adam McNally and Ben Altrier holds on to 2nd place in the prime class. Duncan Reyes completes the 3rd place spot there on the prime podium. But meanwhile in the AM class, is it so? It is indeed. Mitchell West brings home his first ever AM win of the season, and indeed his career in the NXTCC for Mitch West's performance. P28 overall, fending off Jonathan Collins by 3 attempts at the line, and Jonathan Collins in the run-up in the AM class, and Daniel Fritz holding formation, holding on to P3 in the AM class, makes it back-to-back P3s for Whiskey Runners Racing, and on top of that, back-to-back double podiums for the team. They'll be absolutely pleased as punch with that. And meanwhile, still to come to line, James Mazerscow, P40 for Aztec Racing. We've got a couple more drivers. He does take his own checker flag. Sam Bradley, meanwhile, will be coming on through to shortly take P41 overall, or P7 in the AM class, in what was a disastrous second race compared to race number 1 going his way as the AM win, of course. But as he does see the checker flag, there's still one more race to go, and from him, Kevin Smith in the end who it all went wrong for as well, will come on home to take P42 for Rhino Motorsport. He's got the pace in the car, there's no doubt about it, but he's not had the luck, and it will all come down to race number 3, where he's going to have to chase after that all-important AM victory as he finally takes the checker flag. And as he does so, he crossed line 42 finishers after 44 starters, and as he makes his way on through, there we see Wojciech Swirydowicz making his way towards the pit lane, and as he does so, well, the Semper Racing driver will know it's the traditional fashion here of making sure to pick up that race 2 win, and he's done exactly that once again as Mikey Doble just comes into the pits ahead of him for Doble Sim Racing in a solid drive, and then Adam Delmont completing the run to P3 on the overall podium for SL with Next Gen Gold. But as he comes on down there, Delmont will be pleased with that, having finished P2 in the first race of the day. A P3 means it'll be a huge haul of points coming his way. And then for our Pro-Ams, Alex Meredith in front of the packed out stadium crowd, one of the Whiskey Runners racing driver doing just enough to make sure he's guaranteed to be in the reverse grid first and foremost, and also making it back-to-back Pro-Am wins. So Alex Meredith really having a phenomenal day here today, it has to be said, ahead of Adam McNally, and then Ben Altrier, your run-up in the Pro-Am class, and Duncan Rise making it his first podium of the day in the Pro-Ams. Meanwhile, for Mitchell West parking up there, he'll be getting out the car absolutely jubilant. But as he does so with Jonathan Collins and also Daniel Fritz just behind him, let's take a look at those race results subject to any Stewards inquiries, ladies and gentlemen. And here they are. Well, after another 10 laps of racing in Japan, Wojciech Swirydowicz taking the win in race number 2 overall for Semper Racing by 1.4 seconds over Doble Sim Racing's Mikey Doble. Adam Delmont, P3 for SO and Next Gen Gold, in a absolutely brilliant drive there to complete the podium ahead of Isaac Doble for Doble Sim Racing and Next Gen Pink's Benjamin McCluskey. Russell Fowler fell to P6, but still the Performance Link Esports making it back-to-back top 10s. He'll be happy with that. Just ahead of Next Gen Pink's Gavin Gardner, who did well after a difficult race 1 to recover to P7 in race number 2. And Lee Horn at P8 there for Sam Case of the Next Gen, continuing to establish his presence inside the overall top 10 ahead of Andrew Pike for the Sim Racing Collective and Larice Pascucci for Valkyrie X-Hype, who was on course for a P7 until that altercation between himself and Reese Watt, but in the end he'll take that P10 and know that he fought hard for it every step of the way. Patrick Falconer, P11 for JW Motorsport, best the rest there, not quite able to sneak into the top 10 right at the end, missing 2 attempts at the checker flag, but still ahead of Jonathan Robrex for Valkyrie X-Hype, and then Pro-Am winner Alex Meredith, back-to-back Pro-Am wins for Whiskey Runners Racing so far, and P13 as well. He guarantees he's in the reverse grid. Meanwhile, Adam McNally doesn't quite guarantee it, but has a high chance of doing so for SO and Next Gen Gold with a P14 finish, and the same for runner-up in the Pro-Am class, Ben Altrier for Full Tilt B Motorsport with a P15, and some overall points coming his way to boot. Duncan Rise completes the Pro-Am podium there with P3 in the class for Goldwing Motorsport ahead of teammate Sam Van Olst, with Matthew Addy P5 Pro-Am, P18 overall for Sam Case of the Next Gen. Your top 20 was completed by Slavomir Jarvosky and Michael Lees, and then it was at P21 for Tom Davison, with the Sim Racing Collective driver finding himself battered and bruised in race number 2, but finishing ahead of what was Aztec Racing's Toby Prosser, and iRacing Esports' Sam Smith completing at the eligible reverse grid positions by taking P23. Matthew Sheraton, P24, ahead of Reese Watt, with the JW Motorsport driver had a frustrating race and falling well outside the top 10, and indeed the top 20 as well with it, but ahead of teammate Luke Jones. Now it's Alan McCain, P27, ahead of AM winner, and first time AM winner in his career, Mitchell West for Mitch West performance. Well done to him in the 101, and he'll be absolutely happy with that. Jonathan Collins, P29, second place in the AM class there, in a hard chase after West, but wasn't quite able to complete the chase of Whiskey Runners Racing. Marcel Fritsch, meanwhile, completed your top 30 for WS Racing Esports. And then P31 to Jake Pitt, head of third place AM driver Daniel Fritz, making it back-to-back double podiums for the Whiskey Runners team. Liam Silkstone, Mark Sykes and Dimitri Coulon completed your top 35 ahead of Mark Kent, with the Full Tilt V Motorsport driver fending off a Roy Plummeter line, and then Lewis Mason, P38, just a little bit further behind, with your top 40 being rounded off by Jamie Dorey after that unfortunate mid-race incident, and James Smansesgow, P40. We also had Sam Bradley and Kevin Smith finish on the lead lap, P41 and P42. A lap down to Joseph Doble, P43 for Doble Sim Racing, and our one retirement after that incident on the open lap for Costa Chatscontinentanu, the 287 Motorsport driver retiring after one lap, indeed the only non-classified car out of our 44 starters. So 43 finishers and 1 retiree, we move on to race number 3, ladies and gentlemen. But of course, just before we go to our break and we get set for race number 3, there is that one big question of where will we be reversing the grid from? Well, without further ado, as we do cut to what will be at the commentary booth, well, as we can see, ladies and gentlemen, and good evening to you all. I hope you're enjoying the racing so far. Indeed, we are here in the commentary booth. As always, we do have our Next Gen Racing Lottery Bowl. The numbers 6 through to 12 are inside there, and shortly I'll close my eyes and draw 2 balls out of the bowl, and whatever number they add to together, that'll be where we reverse the grid from. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, it is time for our reverse grid draw. So I'll close my eyes and go for the shuffle. Let's draw our first ball out of the bowl, and it is going to be the number 6. The number 6 makes its return once again. It's going to be a relatively small reverse grid, but let's see what else is in store as well as we draw our second ball from the bowl. With a little shuffle first. And our number is going to be, to go with the number 6, it is none other than the number 10, which does mean that we will see a top 16 inverted grid, and it is going to be none other than Duncan Rise for Goldwyn Motorsport, who starts on pole, and he is joined on the front row by fellow Prime driver of Ben Altrier for Full Tilt Motorsport. Well, there could be some very close fighting between the two of them, and then they do have practically the entire pro field behind them as well. So it's a limited number of primes inside that top portion of the field, but it is going to lead to a very spicy race number 3, and we will be back for all that and more action, ladies and gentlemen, in what will be approximately 7 to 8 minutes time. But of course, as we do cut away, it is time for a word from our sponsor, once again our title sponsor for this season, and that is Doble Motorcycles. We'll see you very shortly. If you are looking to buy your next two-wheeled machine or ATV, why not consider Doble Motorcycles? Home to an expansive full range of Honda motorcycles, scooters, off-road bikes and ATVs, Doble Motorcycles is the UK's leading Honda motorcycle dealer. However, do not just take our word for it. Having won numerous awards over the years, including 3 Motorcycle News Dealer of the Year awards, and being nominated for many more, including Honda Dealer of the Year 4 times, the Doble family-run business prides itself on customer service, and it shows. Add to this the family's rich racing history through 3 generations, as currently embodied by Mikey Doble Racing, with Mikey chasing glory in the BTCC, and you can be certain that you will receive excellent customer service from lights out to checkered flag. So if you'd like to know more, check out their website today at doble.co.uk. Speaking of Mikey Doble Racing, if you'd like to support Mikey as he pushes it to the limit out on track, you can do so by following the Mikey Doble Racing Facebook page as seen on screen. Additionally, if you want to represent the 88 Army at a BTCC weekend, Mikey Doble Racing has some fantastic merchandise available just for you, as may be found either via the Mikey Doble Racing Facebook page, or alternatively in the Doble Motorcycle store at dobledirect.co.uk. Don't miss out on being a part of the 88 Army today. return one last time tonight, ladies and gentlemen, for race number 3, coming up very shortly in round 3 of season 7 of the NXTCC, powered by Doble Motorcycles. And what a brilliant pair of races we have had thus far. Whereas race number 1 was relatively calm, albeit the last couple of laps got rather tense between the top 10 and indeed further down the field. Race number 2 saw plenty of elbows out up and down the field, particularly in the Prime and AM categories, with drivers battling hard to get past each other, and even at certain points inside the overall top 10, with our pro drivers all fighting hard to chase after top 5 finishes. But race number 3 will now have a top 16 inverted grid, and we're going to have only 3 primes inside that grid, and on pole will be Duncan Rise with Ben Altrier, his main rival, and has been his bitter rival all evening, alongside each other and looking to do battle. And Alex Meredith having made it 2 wins so far, 2 in the prime class, not too far behind, starting in what will be P4 if my memory serves me correctly. But as we look here to Sam Bradley, the SO NXTGEN Gold driver, had a brilliant race number 1, only to be knocked out of contention for the AM win in race number 2. Well, he's picked up 1 win in the AM Class A, that's certain, but he'll be hoping for a little bit more, and he's got all his work to do, much like Kevin Smith, a driver who's got a lot of pace, no doubt about it, in the Verano Motorsport Honda, but unfortunately that pace sent astray due to an incident midway through race number 2. But what can he do in the 3rd race of the day? Well, all eyes will be on him and how quickly he can charge his way up into contention. But as all of our drivers get themselves set and ready to race, we have 2 minutes left on the clock, and I think right now everyone's going to be turning their attention to getting their heads down and focusing as much as they humanly can. And well, you can understand why, given the fact that with these reverse grid races, they've already been through the best part of 40 minutes of racing. Legs getting a little bit tired, the arms as well. Everyone will be feeling as though they've got to try and keep their energy levels up, and they've got to lock in and get ready to attack one last time this evening. And this Fuji circuit, absolutely relentless when it comes to the tough effort that's demanded from the drivers, lap after lap, corner after corner. But indeed, it's led to some absolutely brilliant racing here, and also it's led to some brilliant predictions in the YouTube chat, it must be said. In the end, we pulled a top 16 reverse grid, but Handsome Stu, who we say hello to, and it wouldn't quite be an NXTCC broadcast if we didn't get to see Handsome Stu in the YouTube chat, predicting the numbers 7 and 10 would be drawn, almost getting it absolutely spot on and very close. Even though it was 6 instead of 7, I'll give credit there, Handsome Studio. That's the closest call we've ever had with regards to someone trying to predict the balls before they've been drawn. But you saw K-Teams there saying to pull out the big numbers of the Facebook chat. Unfortunately not today. Those big reverse grids seem to escape us in the early stage of this season, but I wonder if they'll come back later on in the season, as they sometimes do. Albeit it must be said, season 6 we had more reverse grids beyond what was the number 18 or higher, compared to being 18 or less, so above our midpoint or our median average, and therefore we suspect this season we might be seeing things tilt the other way if you're a bit of a statistics person. But still, let's put the statistics at the door. The only statistics and numbers our drivers will need are their positions and their lap times, and as they get themselves all finally locked in and clocked in for this final race, with only 10 seconds on the initial practice warm-up, we're going to be heading to the grid for our final time today here at Fuji. And Wojciech Swirydowicz, having made it 1 win in race number 2, he pulls the car into the pit lane. Now he's got his work to do for P16, and it's all going to be about how many places he can gain over those 10 laps. Well, here we go, ladies and gentlemen. It is time for race number 3. As our drivers make their way onto the grid, this is how they'll line up for our final race of the day. In fact, hold up a second, it does look as though that we may have a slightly incorrect grid, but there we go, the grid does update itself, and well, it looks though for some reason, ladies and gentlemen, we may not quite have the reverse grid expected. Give us a brief moment. I think we do have the incorrect positions for a number of drivers with regards to our final reverse grid, but it's listing that Wojciech Swirydowicz is on pole here. Give us a brief moment in case something has gone wrong, and we will reopen it. And well, our grid data is showing that the grid has been set based on the results of race number 2, and well, we'll have to see with the race director whether there's been an error with regards to the gridding procedure. But as everybody gets themselves set, we'll just check it in. And indeed, ladies and gentlemen, we just had a confirmation that the grid has not been set correctly, which means that we will be having to take a bit of a pause before we go racing once again, in the fact that our driver's not in the correct position. So therefore, there will be a delay to this race start, and our drivers just being informed of that currently. And you can see the grid there already clearing out, all the drivers being told that they will have to wait now until a new iRacing lobby is set up. An error has occurred. These things do happen, but we have procedures in place, but it's not the top 16 at reverse grid that you were expecting. So we're going to take a bit of a breather, but we will be back for that build up to race number 3 once again very shortly, ladies and gents. But just bear with us, these things do happen, but we will get it fixed and we will be back racing for our final race here at Fuji in due course. And we return once again, ladies and gentlemen, for the slightly delayed, and you'll have to forgive us, build up to race number 3. After a bit of a technical error with regards to setting the grid for race number 3, well, we'll get things back up to speed now, and in doing so, we're going to be going racing one last time in due course. But as our drivers get set and continue to practice in the background, only 3 minutes away from heading to that grid one more time. And, well, appreciate your patience. Indeed, all our drivers having to be just as patient as well, and well, we're much grateful for their patience, and all of them very eager to go racing at once more. And there's still plenty to occur here at the Fuji circuit as we look at Slavomir Jalbowski in the number 99 for Semper race, and the Hyundai Elantra driver find himself enjoying the thick of the batting of both races 1 and 2 today. And he really has been one of those drivers who's got his head down throughout and enjoyed the fight, and in a bit of a different position on the grid compared to where he was a couple of seasons ago, particularly back in season 5 when we saw him fighting right at the front end behind teammate Wojciech Swirydowicz. But still, whether he's fighting at the front, in the midfield or towards the back, he gives it everything, and we do love to see it as he makes his way on through the hairpin chicane. Well, we'll have to see if we can grab a quick word from one of our drivers, if we can get a patch through to any of them from the car. And as Lee Horn makes his way up and down the start for the straight there, he'll be feeling confident he's all set and ready to go one more time. But as he heads on down, we can't quite get the patch through to his car, I don't think, but we might be able to see if we can get a word to Mitchell West if he is in his car currently, or at least the patch is working. Unfortunately, no, it's not. We would love to hear from this man in terms of picking his first AM win. Maybe we'll get a word with him after the race today in the post-round interviews. I don't think we'll be able to get through to him right now, but still at the same time, we might be able to grab a quick word with 1 or 2 drivers a bit further afield. I think we are going to grab a quick word with none other than Matthew Addy, who we can see here as he makes his way on down the hill, and it'll just be a quick 45-second interview with him, but we're going to get a word with him now as we do get the patch through to the car. And Matthew, time for a quick word?
Yeah, sure, yeah.
Well, it's been a tough 2 races so far, but you've been right in the thick end of battling in the top 5 of the Prime class. Can we expect more of the same in race number 3?
Hopefully, yeah. I've got no weight this time, so I can go forwards.
And I have to ask, how have you found the weight in the Audi? Because this circuit does favour the Audi on the long straight, but I can imagine it must feel like a snail up the hill.
Oh, it's terrible, to be honest, yeah. Even going down the straight in a drag, someone's, you know, you got double car toe, and it's just useless. You can't make any headway at all.
Well, we wish you all the best for race number 3 with no weight, and we'll see you at the checkered flag.
Thanks, Bob.
So here and there from Matthew Addy, giving it one last go today, and well, I'm glad that he's got no weight in the car this time, and that's going to make him feel a little bit happier with the car, no doubt about that, as the Sam Case, the NXTGEN driver, makes his way on down and through. Without further ado, it is time then, ladies and gentlemen, for us to head to the grid for one last race, and well, hopefully the grid is set correctly this time, but who are going to be our final 3 winners of the day across the classes? Well, it is time for us to find out, because here is race number 3. So as our drivers make their way onto the grid, this is how they'll line up for the final time today. For a top 16 inverted grid, Duncan Moraes takes his first overall pole position of his NXTCC career for Doble Motorsport, the Prime driver being joined on the front row by fellow Prime driver Ben Aldria. Behind the full Doble Motorsport driver is Adam McNally for SO NXTGEN Gold and Alex Meredith for Whiskey Runners Racing. Can Alex Meredith make it 3 Prime wins out of 3? He'll have a tough fight on his hands versus 2 rivals in front of him. Jonathan Robrix, meanwhile, sits P5 for Valkyrie X-Type 9. There's plenty of work out there to do, and well, he'll be the one to try and chase it down as he looks to try and secure his first overall podium of the season, if not just an overall top 5. But he'll have the pressure of JW Motorsport's Patrick Falconer alongside him, and then we will see on row number 4 Larice Pascucci for Valkyrie X-Type and Andrew Pike for the Sim Racing Collective. Lee Horn starts P9 for Sam Case for NXTGEN, and will have the company of Gavin Garner for NXTGEN Pink, who's on the rise as of race number 2 going into race 3. And it's Russell Fowler who starts P11 for Performance Link Esports after a great race 1 followed up by a fantastic race number 2, and doing well to start P11 ahead of Benjamin McCluskey for NXTGEN Pink, who's starting P12, where he'll know now he's got work on his hands given the fact he'll have the pressure from row number 7 of both Isaac Doble for Doble Sim Racing and Adam Delman for SO NXTGEN Gold. Meanwhile, to complete the top 16 inversion on row number 8, it's Mikey Doble for Doble Sim Racing and Wojciech Swirydowicz for Semper Racing. We then have on the uninverted rows on row number 9, Sam Van for Goldwing Motorsport and Matthew Addy with Sam Cases with NXTGEN. And then we'll have Slamir Jarvosky for Semper Racing P19 ahead of Michael Lees for JW Motorsport who completes your top 20. With Tom Davidson P21 for the Sim Racing Collective, and with the weight out the car, can we expect him to bounce his way back into a prime podium? Well, we'll have to see. And he'll have Toby Prosser for company for Aztec Racing P22. Sam Smith starts P23 for iRacing Esports ahead of Matthew Sheraton with the Aztec Racing Driver 9. He's got plenty of work to do for P24 and plenty of rivals to battle with from the get-go. And on row number 13, it's Reese Watt for JW Motorsport and Luke Jones, his teammate, before we have iRacing Esports' Alan McCann who starts P27 and Mitchell West, your AM winner in race number 2, starting on AM pole for the final race of the day for Mitch West Performance P28. Your top 30 is completed by Jonathan Collins for Whiskey Runners Racing and Marcel Fritsch for WS Racing Esports. And then it's P31 to Jake Pitt for Aztec Racing. And then we can see Whiskey Runners Racing, Daniel Fritz, P32 there, and looking to try and make it, alongside teammate Collins, a triplet of P2, P3 finishes or double podiums for the Whiskey Runners team. Liam Silkstone starts on the 17th Friday grid P33 for SO and NXTGEN Gold. Now with the company of Mark Sykes for Sam Cases for NXTGEN. And then we have on row number 18 Dimitri Coulon for Valkyrie X-Type and Mark Kent for Phil Teepley Motorsport. And then behind the two on row number 19 will be Roy Plummer for NXTGEN Red and Lewis Mason for Aztec Racing. With Jamie Dory for NXTGEN Pink and James Masterscale for Aztec Racing completing your top 30. Top 40 I should say. And then we have Sam Bradley P41 for the SO and NXTGEN Gold ahead of Kevin Smith for Rhino Motorsport, with the final row of the grid being occupied by Joe Doble for Doble Sim Racing and Costa Chatscon Anthony for 287 Motorsport. And after that difficult end to his race number 2, only after one lap, following a shunt into the hairpin, Chatscon Anthony will look to go charging on through the field, and how high can he go in the pursuit of AM places? Well, it's a 44 car grid, and as all of our drivers sit in preparation for the race start, well, we've got a bit of time, approximately 10 seconds before the lights go on. But will it be Duncan Moraes or will it be Ben Altrier who leads out of turn number 1? Or could it be the pros behind them who come on through? Well, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, it's going to be at the time to answer those questions and plenty more, as it is going to be 1 red light, 2 red lights, 3 red lights, 4 red lights, 5 red lights. And it's lights out and away we go for the final time today as our prime pole sitter Duncan Moraes gets a good launch off the line in the Audi. Altrier picks up now in the second phase, but already Adam McNally pushing around the outside here as Altrier bogging down to a degree as they head onto the brakes. And as they make the way through the opening corner, you can see further progress behind as we see what is Wojciech Swirydowicz trying to sneak up the inside. But as all the drivers make the way now down through the Kinka 2 and in towards turn at number 3 they go. Well, it's 2 by 2 there at the front. Altrier still fighting side by side with McNally, but further back, everyone right now refusing to budge. Matthew Addy there side by side in a very close call with what is Isaac Doble, who's forced backwards, but as they make the way on down, Fred has further contact in front. That's Patrick Falconer, who's had a bit of an altercation with Jonathan Robrex, who falls down. Meanwhile, Luis Pascucci picks up where his teammate falls to the wayside, and as they come onto the brakes into the hairpin, well, everyone's been able to survive it so far. Keep it clean, guys. It's great to see as they come through, but Addy there on the outside. Oh, but where's Russell Fowler? And Fowler struggling to start this race and falling backwards, but Matthew Addy is absolutely charging, and as he mentioned, no weight in the car this time, and it shows immediately he's picking up places aplenty as he now goes hunting after P10 on McCluskey. But he looks around the outside here, hard on the brakes they go. Everyone now Constantino, but Fowler comes on through. It's going to be a free wide at the apex, but in the end, Robrex backs out, and all of our drivers now snaking their way through. Jonathan Collins had a good start. Meanwhile, Mitchell West has fallen back to P2 in the AM class. Cars around in the rear of the picture. That I do believe is the car Dimitri Coulon that's gone around. Also, Lewis Mason and Joe Doble have been caught up in that tussle at the hairpin. So there's been a bit of drama down there, but meanwhile, further up in that order towards the back of the field, Sam Bradley fighting here with Jay Pitt, and the SONXN Gold driver getting ahead for now in the battle for P35 as he wants to go hunting after Mark Kent and Daniel Fritz, who are a little bit further up the road. But I think Pitt's going to come back at him here and try to insist on the position, but in the end, Bradley will hold on to it. But after one lap, it is Duncan Moraes who leads this race by 4 attempts, with Adam McNally close on his heels as they go on to lap 2. From them, we do see it further behind. It is Ben Altrier, followed by Alex Meredith, then Patrick Falconer, followed by Andrew Pite, Larice Pascucci at P7 ahead of Gavin Gardner, followed by Lee Horn, and then Benjamin McCluskey with Russell Fowler P11. But as they make their way down to the braking zone, everyone keeping their cool. Isaac Doble, meanwhile, trying to gain some places back, losing some at the start of the race, down to P16, but a bit of contact there on the inside door panel. Sam Knowles, and in turn it turns sideways, but the Doble Sim Racing driver gets it back together as they now head in towards turn number 3. But meanwhile, major shunt there, and that is, I believe, what is the cars? Oh well, firstly the JW Motorsport car with Luke Jones being turned sideways, and a number of cars, Toby Prosser as well, is immediately towed to the pits. And also, I think there Mark Kent's been involved in that altercation, Liam Silkstone, but Jones is going to try and get it turned around, but a nightmare moment there coming for the Kinker 2, and in towards 3, and Alan McCain, meanwhile, a very heavily scratched left-hand side iRacing Esports Hyundai Elantra. We're right now fighting here with James Smatsgawl for his P12 in the Prime class, so some points on available here, and as they head out to turn number 6, gets head and keeps the position for now. As Dimitri Coulon on a recovery drive here and trying to find his way past Lewis Mason does that. That does gain him an overall place, but doesn't gain him what is a prime place. It's got more to do with a slightly damaged car as he heads down towards turn number 10. As he charges his way into the braking zone. Well, meanwhile, Chad's gone to lane 2, and there's contact of Alan McCain in what is an instant that does seem to mirror what happened on lap number 1 of race number 2. Now, whether it was the 287 Motorsport driver who made the contact or vice versa, we don't know, but we know he's had an incident at what is the turn 10 hairpin, and with the 284 driver limping along, and I suspect that's to get it back to the pits and get it repaired. But meanwhile, as the field make the way onto another lap, well, after what was a relatively calm and cool lap number 1, well, lap number 2 has definitely seen things up in terms of the tempo, and as they come down towards the braking zone, well, they've still got a way to go, and Mariah's still holding off Manali for now, but Manali with all the weight in the car here, well, he's got hard work cut out for him for 2 primes behind, and there's Patrick Falconer, meanwhile, looking up the inside of Alex Meredith. Meredith right now not really been given the opportunity to feed his way to battle Ultrier and Moraes. I think Meredith is going to try and take his time with this. Now, he's got a few laps available to him. This is quite a long race. It's 20 minutes, much like the others, but the laps are long, and therefore he doesn't need to rush this. He's just got to be careful not losing too much ground to fellow pros around him, because otherwise he may find himself in the end not in the right place at the right time to pounce towards the end of the race. But Patrick Falconer, meanwhile, a lot of pressure put behind. That is Andrew Pike as we ride on board, looking back on the 96. Pike looking to the inside there, has his nose chopped off slightly on the apex. Also there, Gavin Gardner trying to put some pressure on, and not quite working out for Pike whatsoever. Meanwhile, Ultrier is being passed by Manali. Manali made the move coming out of the hairpin, and Ultrier under pressure from Duncan Rise right now, as Ultrier able to sneak through, and as they head onto the brakes, so the full tilt Motorsport driver takes the prime lead. I believe Moraes having a poor run out of what was the old hairpin, and as they make the way in towards the left into right here, well, right now Patrick Falconer on the inside prevents Meredith from being able to stay with his prime peers, and instead Patrick Falconer insists that he's going to make his way into P4, and it stands as they head up the hill through Nets Bend. It is going to be Patrick Falconer who's on a mission, but the problem is he's got to pick off 2 more primes, but we can consider going for the overall win versus Manali. But Manali may again be subject to a counter-attack here down the start-finish straight, given his Honda will lack top-end speed. Meanwhile, the Elantra of Ultrier and the Audi RS3 of Moraes will have a lot more speed by comparison. But as they head down towards the next lap, meanwhile, we're looking a bit further down the order. This is Reese Watt we're focusing on here, currently P22 on the back of Slamir Jarboski as they roar their way down the start-finish straight. And right now, the Englishman in the 32, giving a little bit of a bump draft there to the Polishman as they head in towards the next lap. And I can imagine nobody really wants to break the tire this time, and instead Watt just trying to give his rival every opportunity to pull the pair of them along. But now as they get towards the braking zone, you'll have the overspeed here. You can see in front Swirydowicz battling side by side with Davison, and will Swirydowicz losing ground at the start. Watt gets it, stops the apex. Lovely move there from Reese Watt to move up ahead of Watt, Slamir Jarboski, and Jarboski under pressure now from Matthew Cheverton, who's looking to try and go around the outside in towards turn number 3, and it is going to be Cheverton who does get it done there, and Jarboski going backwards, not forwards. Is there a sign of an issue with the car potentially? Perhaps some damage done on the opening laps. We can't quite visibly see it, but perhaps it's holding him down in terms of top end speed or just controllability, as Cheverton taking a lot of apex in turn 5. He's got to be careful of that, as otherwise he may get an automated slowdown or worse, face the wrath of our race director. As they come out of turn number 6 in towards turn number 10. Well, from our drivers there, we do look a little bit further up to Michael Lees and Tom Davison as they fight for what is P6 in the Prime class, and also fighting with Wojciech Swirydowicz at P18. You can see the pro driver there sticking himself to the inside. Onto the brakes they go, and as they do, Davidson right now just not quite able to get things right there, and in turn as they make the way on the rise, it is going to stay as is for now between them. Meanwhile, a bit further up the road, Andrew Pike forcing his way to inside into NXTGEN versus Cameron Gardner. This is a P6. Oh, goodness me, it turned across the front of Gardner there and a small contact, and it sends Pike well on his way. He avoids the wall. He's going to rejoin the run up into Panasonic corner, but it's going to demote him the best part of 10 places down to what is P15. Battling side by side immediately now when Mikey Doble does rejoin, but for Andrew Pike it's been a nightmare moment, and now he's got all the work to do once again. And Isaac and Mikey are both trying to make their way on past here, but this is going to really rupture their plans in the fact I think they were expecting just to beat the toe all the way down the start finish straight, but now they've got other things to do in terms of managing Pike, as meanwhile Adam McNally under pressure and Ben Tree at the front, and that is Patrick Falconer coming in very late. There's contact there with Duncan Moraes. It sends Moraes sideways, and well, for Patrick Falconer, that's not the way he wanted to do it, but Alex Meredith will be grateful in a way that he's got past well his prime roles, but he won't have wanted it that way. And Ben Tree, meanwhile, is absolutely stubborn as a mule. We love to see this, and the fact the 504 driver fighting back versus McNally and retakes the lead of the race. And Altria right now trying to bring home an overall win as a prime driver to add his name to that ever-growing list of prime drivers who've got overall wins. He's yet to score one for himself, but today could be the day where he makes it happen if he can keep up this momentum and pressure on McNally. But as they come out of turn 7 down towards turn 10 they go. That's a car pointing the wrong way. Is that Matthew Addy turned around? No, it's not. I think that's Jonathan Robrix who's been turned the wrong way at turn number 6, and that puts him all the way down the order. Meanwhile, Luis Pascucci, his teammate, still holding on inside the top 10. In fact, Lee Horn's P6 needs to focus on cameraman's attention, but just behind him is Pascucci. But you can see then the Valkyrie Exo Honda as the Honda pair chase their way after Gardner in the Veloster. Benjamin McCluskey just gets ahead of Duncan Moraes into 10 and 13 just behind them. So right now it's all chop and change in this field as the drivers all fight each other. But indeed, it's a very volatile top 15 with the fact we are starting to get some primes sneak into it, the ones who didn't get inside that reverse grid. But otherwise, the key point being here, the pros are really having the leashes taken off of them, and at this point they're giving it everything here to try and chase down top 5 finishes. Another car sent to the barrier, and that is Sam Van Olst who's sent up high. The car points in the right direction, and well, there's some contact of another driver. He rejoins. Everyone takes evasive action there to let him rejoin, which is great awareness from all involved, and that puts him down to P24. Mark Sykes moves up into P8 in the prime class, and Sykes had a very anonymous day today after that incident in race number 1. I think he'll be grateful to see some points coming his way in this final race today, as meanwhile Jonathan Collins, oh my good lord, and that is Sam Smith. Sam Smith turns to the barrier down the start finish straight, and well, I'm getting flashbacks there to the Super GT race where car went into war a couple of years ago, albeit only one car involved this time. As meanwhile, out of all of this and in all the drama that's going on, Kevin Smith, who started from the back of the grid, well, right now the Verona Motorsport driver up to P4 in the AM class. He's pushing hard. He's the fastest AM out there at this time, and the number 94 Honda is on a crusade with half the race to go to try and go for the AM win, albeit he's not going to like it if he's fighting with fellow primes like Jake Pitt here, as the two of them have a little bit of a rub with each other. But if they can negotiate each other and settle the differences, then we may see Smith have a better race here, so long as he can find a way to settle this battle. But I don't think either driver wants to give in. Pitt turns in to find Smith's right there. Kevin Smith is not giving in and showing a lot of pace in Verona Motorsport, but right now, should he let Pitt go? Well, if he feels that he's got the pace, he's got to show it, and credit to him, because if he can break away from Pitt, then he might have the opportunity to chase down Sam Bradley first and foremost. As meanwhile, we've lost Andrew Pike. That's Andrew Pike on the cross there, and what sent him on his way, I'm not sure. That's going to put him all the way down the order as he tries to rejoin at some point in the description. But right now, we've got incidents happening left, right, and centre, and all the drivers absolutely enough holding nothing back, as Adam Delmont has dropped all the way from what was the top of the top 10 down to P9 as he fights with Duncan Moraes and Russell Fowler, and he's dropped down to P9 in all of this. I suspect it might have been Delmont and Pike who had a bit of a coming together as they make their way down the start finish straight. But as they do, when we look here to Altria and McNally, and as they head in towards turn number 1, well, it's going to be McNally on the inside, and I think Altria is going to have to yield at this time around. Fastest lap race set by Alex Meredith, replaced by Jamie Dorey, who's in P20 at 50.678. But the point being here that McNally has got ahead of Ben Altria, but we've still got 4 laps to go, including the one they're on. So this race is far from finished at the moment. And as Patrick Falconer chases after, and so does Alex Meredith, I suspect this race may not be over until the post-round stewarding is conducted, as there have been some rather nasty incidents towards the end of this race. But the one we've got on our fingertips, what exactly happened to Andrew Pike only moments ago? Well, here's the replay. and this was battling side by side with Wojciech Swirydowicz into turn 11, gets caught on the side of Swirydowicz's car, and it's just propelled to the grass there. And I think the two drivers getting their elbows out, neither one wanted to give way, and in the end it was Pike who was made to give way. But meanwhile, what happened to what was Sam Smith on the start-finish straight only moments before that? Well, there, a bit of a connectivity issue, disappears, rematerialises from the ether into the barrier, then comes across the road. And, well, not quite sure what happened there at all. Looks like it's a connectivity issue of some description for the iRacing esports driver and perhaps a netcode contact affiliated with that. But we return to your live racing now, and as we do, Isaac Doble battling with Mikey there, the two brothers fighting free wide. There's Russell Fowler. You don't go free wide into NXTGEN, and in the end they're going to survive it. But my goodness, that's actually crazy. And Matthew Addy, meanwhile, does not survive the run up into NXTGEN. Russell Fowler also sent to the grass there. Tom Davison also, what is, I do believe Michael at least taking evasive action, and Michael Lease now sneaks through to P14, albeit with Swirydowicz at P13 in front of him. As soon as we come back to live racing, it all kicks off once again, and what was looking to be a great race for Matthew Addy is now descended back to P25, and what, as quickly as a flash, all the places you gain, they can be removed from you. But as the drivers make the way down the start-finish straight, meanwhile, from this, Sam Bradley and Mitchell West now are squaring off, albeit West is Mr. Front Bumper. That's fallen off the car. I don't know when that's happened, but that's news. But Sam Bradley moving up into P2 in the AM class, and with Matthew Addy in front of him, that's the only drive between him and AM leader, Jonathan Collins, and Collins just going into the hairpin right now, as meanwhile Andrew Pike makes his way out the inside of West into turn 1. I don't think West is going to fight that too hard. Meanwhile, outside the top 30, here's a side-by-side battle, if you will, between the Coulon and what is Madison's Gal with Alan McCain, the third party to this. They're fighting for P35, and this is still for points. This is a P11 in the Prime class, and Dimitri Coulon trying to underwrite today with another points finish. And in front of him is Roy Plummer, the AM driver with P6 in AM class. And he was looking in his rearview mirror and thinking, okay, I've got a whole host of Primes now beckoning for me. As they come down in towards turn 4 and then 5, it's going to be as they were into the double right-hander, while making the way on the rise in towards turn number 6. But as they do, from them, we look back to the top end of the top 15, and this is Reese Watt, who's trying to keep Matthew Sheraton and a whole host of drivers at bay, including Jamie Dory, Russell Fowler, Slamir, Jovosky, Tom Davison, Mark Sykes, and John from Rob Brakes. They're all lining up, and there is a bit of contact between Jovosky and Fowler. They just about survive it, but behind them, Sykes battling side by side here with John from Rob Brakes, and Sykes taking the long way around the outside of 13. That's going to put him out of that battle, but I think that might have been by design there in order to make sure he doesn't get caught up in it for too long, because his target will be to fight with Tom Davison for P6 in the Prime class. And given the day that Sykes has had, I think he'll take this P7 in the Prime class that he currently holds on to with both hands open if he does get the chance to do so. As they come out to turn number 16 from our drivers there, we have Sam and Austin Jonathan Collins fighting over with P23 just behind, and we'll keep in mind that Collins is your AM leader with Matthew Addy only 4.5 attempts back, and then you do have Mike and Bradley fighting each other, where it is right now the AM drivers really being interfered with in terms of their aspirations to fight with each other for the AM win. And well, I think for Collins it'll be grateful if he can keep a few primes and pros between himself and his rivals. Conversely, meanwhile, I think it'll be Bradley who just wants to clear this back in front of him, as that is going to be Knowles who drives to the inside. Addy also takes a look, can't quite find it, door shut on him by Collins, and Pike has made his way ahead of Bradley, and now Bradley will be hoping that Pike and Addy can fight the way through. But meanwhile, we look back to the front of the field, and it's Adam McNally on this penultimate lap who is back into lead ahead of Ultria, as meanwhile Falconer looking up the inside, goes all in here. Falconer absolutely brazen as they come, and in the end it's bold moves like that that make the difference between you being in P3 and P2, and Falconer does exactly that. But now McNally is under huge pressure, as we can see there, getting extremely close to Falconer as they head down towards the hairpin. Onto the brakes they go. Meanwhile there is Garen Garner taking a look up the inside. It's cut off on the camera there as we do get the face for Falconer's car, but the Audi driver right now absolutely attack all over, and Falconer yet to achieve an overall win this season, and indeed yet to achieve an overall podium, and is looking for it now. And Ultria meanwhile is not out of this. Alex Meredith as well having to fend off Lee Horn. The Prime drivers doing everything they can to stay inside the podium places, or at least the top 5 overall, but the pros seem to be finding their pace now in the late stages, having saved the tyre life. And as they head on through turn number 16, well, Meredith's going to have Horn on the inside. They come on through, Horn backing off, and Meredith allowed to proceed, and I think Horn doesn't want to lose the top 4 in battling with Meredith, and it's quite a sensible notion as they head down towards the final lap. So one more lap remains, and it is currently Adam McNally who leads as they roar the way down towards the turn 1 hairpin. And there they go, you can see them in the distant blimp shot, the long line of cars all snaking its way down. But as they do under the white flag, well, McNally right now defending. Falcon are looking around the outside. Altria playing the patience game in P3. In the end, no change. Albeit Falcon does go a little bit deep down that outside line. Will this bring Altria into contention? Yes, it does. We ride on board with the 504. And as he heads in towards turn number 3, the full tilt motorsport driver backs off then. No, this isn't where the move's going to come. It's going to come late in lap if it's going to come at all here. And he's got to be smart about this. There could be an overall win if the two in front decide to really put their elbows out, but he's also got to be aware of Gardner and Alex Meredith, most importantly behind, who's chasing after this prime win. As they come onto the brakes here for the hairpin, no change between the drivers at the moment. Everybody absolutely glued from nose to tail as they head in towards turn number 10 for one more times today. And as they come on down the hill in towards the braking zone, well, Meredith and Gardner still at bay, but there you can see McNally right now putting himself right in the middle of the road, going as defensive as he dares to do so. Meanwhile, further back, Sam Bradley and Jonathan Collins fighting for the AM lead as they make the way on down here in towards 300R and the hairpin. Which of the two here is going to take it? Well, Bradley's on the outside, meanwhile Collins on the inside here. Side by side they go. Collins will have the nose ahead. Bradley looks at the cutback, but Collins does successfully defend for now. That's a car across the road and onto the grass. That, I believe, is Davidson. Not quite sure what set that off, but meanwhile, we look back from the AM lead battle, back to the overall lead battle, with it the prime lead battle as well. And as they come out of the final corner, it is going to be 4 attempts, and Falconer will put his pedal to the metal. I think McNally may have done this, ladies and gentlemen, as they head on down. And well, at the start of the season, he said to me he wasn't targeting any wins overall, but Adam McNally, take a bow. You've just taken your first overall win as a pro. As he crosses the line, your winner for SO and NXTGEN Gold ahead of Patrick Falconer, and Ben Altrier holds on for the final one is overall podium slot, and with it the prime win, denying a triplet of wins to Alex Meredith in the prime class. Gavin Garner between the two of them P4, Alex Meredith P5, Leon P6, Benjamin McCluskey P7, Delman, Mikey Doble and Isidol to complete your top 10 with Wojciech Swirydowicz P11. In the AM class battle, it was Jonathan Collins who took the win in the end, hold off Sam Bradley by only what was 3 attempts at the finish line, and third place in the AM class went to Mitchell West to make it 2 podiums out of 3 today for the Australian driver for Mitchell West's performance. But goodness me, ladies and gentlemen, what a race to wrap up proceedings here in Fuji. And meanwhile, coming into the pits, he will be classified as P38, as he is the last lead lap runner, and everybody else behind him is at least a lap down. Luke Jones with a dismal end to his day and bringing the car into the pits there, most likely due to the damage picked up over the distance. But meanwhile, as we look to Adam McNally here, well, he's had to work hard for it, but in the end, that overall winner coming his way. But Patrick Falconer constantly there, putting the pressure on. And the JW Motorsport driver, really a revelation in race number 3. On the charge. Race number 1 was a bit of slow start to the day. Race number 2 saw him make some progress, but race 3 is where he came alive. And Ben Altrier, meanwhile, for Full Tilt Motorsport, more huge congratulations to him for taking the prime win, but also holding on to the 3rd place spot on the overall podium against some absolutely stiff opposition. And Gavin Garner in the end had no response, but I think just as much needed to keep Alex Meredith behind him as well as focusing on what was in front. And whilst for Alex Meredith it may not be 3 prime wins out of 3, one thing he can happily say is that today he has taken the majority of the prime points with 2 wins and a 2nd place in class, and also a huge number of points coming the way of Whiskey Runners Race in the Teams Championship. And that's exactly what he needed to bring home here from our first visit to the Pacific for this season. But as all drivers come into the pit, of course, a 3rd place in the end for Duncan Rays in the prime class, and a continued great day for Goldwing Motorsport. And meanwhile, in the AM class, Jonathan Collins just hold off Sam Bradley in the end in their brilliant battle all the way to the finish line. And these two definitely forming a great rivalry. And for Sam Bradley, he's tasted the winner's champagne today. He tasted that in the first race of the day, but you'll know he'll want to taste it more now that the ticker's bitten. But it's a long way to the top, and all the drivers know you've got to have those consistent results through and through, round after round, if you want to become that AM champion. But as the field makes its way into the pits for our final race of the day, well, ladies and gentlemen, it's been an absolute blast, race 3 of 3, but let's get those results up on screen. And as we can see, after another 10 laps of racing with a slight delay to proceedings, Adam Nally, your race-free winner for SO and NXTGEN Gold by half a second over Patrick Falconer for JW Motorsport. P3 in the end, and Pro-Am winner with it for Ben Altrier for Full Tilt Motorsport in an absolutely hard-fought third place finish. And then Gavin Garner, P4, only a 10th behind at the line for NXTGEN Pink, but holding off by a 10th Alex Meredith, who was second place in the Pro-Am class for Whiskey Runners Racing. Lee Horn, P6, the Sam Case of the NXTGEN driver who started outside the top 10 today, did well to make it back-to-back top 10s in races 2 and 3, with Benjamin McCluskey P7 there for NXTGEN Pink, in a bit of a anonymous day today for the NXTGEN Pink team, but still he'll be happy with that, with Adam Delman at P8 for SO and NXTGEN Gold, and then the Doble brothers and Mikey and Isaac completing your top 10 for Doble Sim Racing. Wojciech Swirydowicz, P11, the Semper Racing driver, getting involved in the thick of the fighting all the way through, and therefore not quite able to make the progress he would have liked in race 3. But Duncan Rise, P12, third place spot on the Pro-Am podium, and the Goldwyn Motorsport driver getting some good points on the board and some much needed points after what has been a mixed rounds 1 and 2. Michael Lees, P13 for JW Motorsport, just ahead of teammate Reese Watt at the finish, and then Larice Pascucci, P15 for Valkyrie X-Hype, and what could have been if it weren't for some early instance in this race, but still back-to-back top 10s and all finishes inside the top 15. That's a good set of points, and his championship campaign is finally getting underway. From the Valkyrie X-Type driver, a further 2 attempts behind it was Jamie Dory, with Slamir Jalvosky and Matthew Sheridan completing a run to P18, and Sheridan completing a run to P5 in the Pro-Am class, and a brilliant drive there for the Aztec Racing driver, who's had to fight hard all day today to pick up those points. And then Russell Fowler and Mark Sykes completing a top 20. Sam Van Ol's P21 for Goldwyn Motorsport, and coming back to Mark Sykes, that P6 finish in the Pro-Am class is his best result all season in class, and Sam Van Ol's meanwhile finding today it always was going to be a day where he was denied a top 5 in the Pro-Am class regardless of which race due to circumstance. Andrew Pyatt, P22 ahead of Matthew Addy, with Jonathan Collins your AM winner there for Whiskey Runners Racing, it just fended off Sam Bradley at the line by what was in the end I do believe 4 attempts, and then Joseph Doble, Jonathan Robrix and Mitchell West completing the run to P28, with the Mitch West performance driver completing your AM podium of Collins, Bradley and himself. We then come to the end of the top 30 as populated by Tom Davidson and Marcel Fritsch, with a baptism by fire for Tom Davidson as the saying goes in his debut for the Sim Racing Collective in the NXTCC. And then Kevin Smith P31, another 4th place in the AM class, knowing it wasn't to be today and what could have been if race 2 had gone his way, but still the Verano Motorsport driver must take confidence from this race and know his pace is race winning in the AM class. James Massagal P32 ahead of Daniel Fritz, with Roy Plummer P34 hot on his heels for NXTGEN Red. And there was Alan McCain who completed your top 35, and your top 40 was subsequently rounded out by Dimitri Coulon and Luke Jones, albeit we forgot Jake Pitt there in P36, and apologies for that. Then we did see Sam Smith 6 laps down, so therefore classified as a non-finisher P39, ahead of Mark Kent the same 7 laps down. 7 laps down as well to Lewis Mason, and there was 8 laps down to both Liam Silkstone and Costa Chatscontinentinu, with Toby Prosser only making it 1 lap before retiring. So 44 starters, and in the end it was a grand total of 38 finishers, all on the lead lap. But with that, ladies and gentlemen, that concludes our racing here today at the one and only Fuji International Speedway. And as the clouds come over and the evening settles in around the foothills of Mount Fuji, it definitely has been a day full of brilliant battling action. But as we get ready to cut away to post-round interviews and hear what our drivers have to say about today, why don't you let us know in your respective chat what have been your moments of the day and what you've enjoyed most in round number 3 of the NXTCC Season 7, powered by Doble Motorcycles, as we'll be back in approximately 10 minutes time to kick off our post-round interviews. We'll see you shortly, ladies and gentlemen. Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, it is time for our post-round interviews. And today, we're going to be hearing from an assortment of drivers, one of whom from the Prime class, and then 2 of our pros. And we're going to be hearing from a driver who we heard from last week, but given his upturn results today, and indeed his back-to-back Prime wins, we could not deny him the opportunity to be back in the interview, and that is, of course, Whiskey Runners Racing's Alex Meredith. And after him, we're going to be hearing from Mikey Doble from Doble Sim Racing, the Pro class driver, enjoying an absolute medley of battles in all 3 races after a challenging qualifying session. And then we're going to Patrick Falconer for JW Motorsport in the Pro class, who found himself making slow progress early on, but he struck it right in races 2 and 3 to land himself what was his first overall podium of the season. But without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, we kick off with none other than Alex Meredith as he joins me in the interview room. Good evening to you once again, Alex. We caught up with you in the build-up to today, and, well, what an absolutely stellar performance you had in race number 1. And, well, more to come in race number 2, and indeed in race number 3 with regards to your class performances. I mean, you couldn't ask for a better day in Japan, could you?
Yeah, I've got to say, probably one of the best weeks I've had in NXTGEN. You know, race 1 obviously fantastic, if not a bit stressful. Race 2, I struggled at the start, but eventually I got my act together and just sort of kept with this training. Then race 3, a little bit frustrating, but still a P2 in class. So yeah, good haul of points.
Now, coming full circle back to that qualifying lap that saw you took not just pole in class, but also overall. I mean, you were talking to us earlier and saying about the fact that this is a circuit you go out, you feel that the Elantra's hooked up. Did it feel as though it was naturally going to be an overall pole position, or was it a sort of step back and surprise when you got out of the car?
Definitely the latter of those. I mean, even that lap was a scruffy lap. I was basically setting it as a banker because to be honest, I just thought it was a pretty bad lap. Made a lot of mistakes. And then I saw myself go up to the top of the standings. I was like, that won't last because, you know, there was still, I think there was 9 minutes left at the time. But either the track condition worsened or nobody could get an improvement. And yeah, by the end of the quali, I was pretty surprised, just waiting for Delmon and Wojciech to try and beat it, and they didn't. So yeah, massive surprise.
What a big surprise there, but a positive one at that. And then going into race number 1, of course, not too much success ballast in the car. A number of your rivals around you, particularly the pros, carrying a lot of ballast by comparison. But then again, looked as though you controlled it from the start, but in the late stages, it started to swing the way of your rivals.
Yeah, I mean, with race 1, I sort of knew I could win now. I just sort of wanted to prove that Hockenheim last season wasn't a fluke, and I knew what to do. Get a good start, and then sort of control the race for the first couple of laps, try and pull away as much as possible. Because it seems like I always get reeled in by the end when the Elantra's tyres really start to warm up a little bit and the nerves start to kick in. I knew that was going to be the case, so I was just preparing for that. And yeah, lap 9 just really was not a good lap for me. Made a lot of mistakes, misjudged braking zones, things like that. Only slightly, but it doesn't have an impact, especially through the final sector. And then, yeah, lap 10 was just basically holding on for dear life, to be honest. With a little tap into the final corner as well. Had a little drift out, but actually saved me a little bit because Delmon had a bad exit off of that. And, yeah, carried me to the win.
Well, it definitely was, like you say, hanging on for dear life, but you managed to hold on. And then going into race number 2, as you predicted in our pre-race interview yourself, you were saying about the fact that you expected the overall success ballast weight of that 56 kilograms would see you plummet down the grid. But still, you didn't fall like a stone, and then tried to hold on to as many places as you can, and still brought home P13, which many would say, what's the value in that? Well, you guaranteed yourself to be on the reverse grid, and still took the Prime win with it.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't the Prime win because Russell is in Prime as well. But but either way, I sort of knew Russell was going to get through. So I was just hoping for the P2. I definitely was too conservative on lap 1. Let a lot more people than I thought I probably should have done through. And then got into my rhythm. And then on the last lap, I saw the gap to Ben behind me, which was the next pro-am. And I sort of considered giving up to P13 just so I can be on the reverse grid, which in hindsight was a pretty good decision. Lifted off just before the line to get P13 and the P2. So, yeah, pretty solid race and best I probably could have hoped for.
Well, indeed, it was a very solid performance and playing it absolutely right to guarantee you be on that reverse grid. And then when the number 16 was drawn, I have to imagine you thought to yourself, you know what, it's not quite P13, but your luck's pretty good today as well.
Yeah, the luck was really nice in race 3, and I probably should have done more with it than I did. I got a pretty decent start, and then I was just sort of sitting in P4 waiting for Paddy ahead to make a move on Ben, and it just sort of never happened. So I was just, as soon as you go down the inside or attack at all, you lose time. So I was really contemplating just sitting behind, waiting for the attack from Paddy to Ben, and it only happened on the final couple of laps. And what I didn't account for is as soon as Paddy went for it, Gavin behind also went for it. So I was like, well, now I can't really do much because I've just lost the place that I wanted to attack Ben. Now I've just lost another place, so it just put me on a back foot. So yeah, race 3 was a little bit frustrating for me. Could have done better, but yeah, you know, another podium. I can't really complain too much. More points for the team, more points for the Pro-Am Championship.
Well, like you say, a huge number of points for the team. Great points for yourself in the Pro-Am Championship. Really a double whammy, the perfect double whammy. And coming away from today, of course, it does now mean that you're starting to really ride a wave of momentum. And we've been here before in previous seasons, particularly looking back at Season 5, where it was all going so strongly at the start of the season. But it feels as though perhaps something's a bit different this time.
Possibly. I think the nice thing about this season is round 3 always seems to be my kryptonite. I always seem to get into some sort of incident that's my fault in race 3, or more incidents that are my fault in round 3. So it's nice to not have that this week and actually have a really good round. I think I'm just being a little bit more conservative this season, just because I want to get those points without the incidents, and I think that's working out quite well for me.
Well, it's working out by the looks of things, and there's still plenty more rounds to go. Speaking of which, in a week's time, we make our way to the United States of America for our first ever visit to the Charlotte Roval. How are you feeling for that?
I'm not too sure, to be honest. It was the first track I ever did on iRacing. It's a very interesting track, I'll say that. It will be a fun race to watch, I'll say. There's a lot of opportunities for overtaking. There's a lot of opportunities also for mistakes, though. So I think next week it'll be avoiding controversies and contacts, and also getting a nice slipstream once again in quali.
Well, it sounds as though you're already formulating a plan for Charlotte, and we look forward to seeing whether that plan comes to fruition. But just before we do let you go, is there anybody you'd like to give a shout out or a thank you to live on air this evening?
Yep, definitely. Anybody watching, my parents included, always giving me the utmost support. All the admins, as always, doing a great job. You, Paul, for your fantastic commentary, and anybody who I raced against tonight, everybody was very clean, and it was really enjoyable tonight, so thanks everybody.
Well, a big thank you to you, Alex, being on the grid as always and giving it everything week in, week out. And what a set of drives today. Back-to-back Pro-Am winner plus a P2 in class. You couldn't ask for more than that, otherwise it'd be perfection. But still, plenty more rounds to come, and we look forward to seeing you on your journey into Charlotte Roval in a week's time. But until then, thank you for joining me in the interview room, and congratulations once again.
Thanks, Paul.
So hearing that there from Alex Meredith, the Whiskey Runners racing driver, and is it just me or has he matured a little bit? And when I say that, I don't mean it in a derogatory manner, but in the fact he is really taking each race and round in his stride. And that's why I asked the question, is there something different this season compared to Season 5? Because we were in a similar situation in Season 5 around this time, where he just absolutely seemed to be flying high, and then it all came crashing down in the midpoint of the season, but it feels as though now, like you said, taking a step back and really just taking it as it comes, and in turn the Whiskey Runners racing driver delivering time and time again. Of course, with these victories and with the success ballast will come his way, but if he can manage the races as he goes and maximise the strengths and weaknesses of his Hyundai Elantra, then there's no reason why he can't be seriously taken as a contender for the Prime Championship this season, and perhaps it will finally come his way after what is 4 attempts at trying. But now, ladies and gentlemen, we come to our second interviewee, and it's going to be with none other than Mikey Doble. And as he gets ready to join me in the interview room, we'll hear a word from him with regards to what has been definitely an enjoyable day of battling. And, well, we'll get to hear his thoughts on what it's like to fight inside a midfield at the Fuji International Speedway, where everyone's pushing back and forth for position time and time again. But as he joins me now in the interview room, good evening to you, Mikey. And, well, what a day for yourself today. It may not have been headline-grabbing podiums in every race, but it looked as though in every race out there, there was plenty of battling to be had, and through it all, even a second place overall in race number 2.
Yeah, good evening to you. Yeah, it's always a track this to tick off the calendar and try and get through it without any massive dramas, because it is a circuit that presents a lot of overtaking opportunities and a lot of tight racing, so quite easy to get caught up in an accident or get pushed wide at a corner. So yeah, it's not one of my favourite tracks on the calendar, and it's not a track I'm particularly great at either. So to come through it with a second place and 2 9th place finishes, I think is quite a good evening's racing.
Oh, without a doubt about it, and the consistency as well really shine. Although I have to ask, with regards to qualifying, a P11 in qualifying, did it feel as though that was the best you could get out of the car given the P2 success ballast?
I think that if you've got P1 or P2 success ballast, anything in the top 15 is respectable. But obviously with Wojciech qualifying in the top 5 with full ballast, you know, he's got more ballast than me, so you know that the potential's there. And I saw that on my optimal lap time, it was 2 tenths faster than what I actually did. So I probably didn't get the most out of the lap, and I probably had the pace to be in the top 5. But that's timing the. I don't think I got the optimal tow, to be honest, in qualifying. And when you're carrying a lot of weight, it's really hard to keep up with the people that don't have the weight and try and get into a good position where you can benefit from the tow, because ultimately sometimes you can't even keep up on the out lap. So yeah, P11 wasn't a disaster by no means, but I don't think I maximised what I had based off what the telemetry said.
Well, you may not have got the most out of the car in qualifying, but you came close to it. But one thing we definitely saw is that for every place that people tried to take off you in race number 1, you weren't going to give in and give up what would be a top 10 finish. I mean, just take us through what it's like battling in a Honda that's beset by weight, and you've got tons of drivers behind you, whether they're pro, prime, not quite AMs, they weren't able to come through that far, but they're all absolutely chomping at the bit of you.
Exactly. I think when you're one of the key drivers in the championship fight, when you are shuffled back in the pack due to ballast or reverse grid, people get the opportunity to race you where back. But then some drivers tonight, I have to say, have been quite respectful in not kind of treading on my toes too much and getting involved in a fight that they're perhaps not going to win, and slowing us both down. So I think the driving standards around me has been very good tonight. But yeah, race 1 was going pretty well actually. I had the lead pack in sight, and I was kind of on the back of that 3rd place train, led by I think Russell Fowler, and Isaac was in 4th. So I was there, and then unfortunately I got a slow down with a couple of laps to go from P8, which dropped me down to P10, but still went forward from my grid position and set me up quite nicely for race 2.
And going into race number 2, after you say some rather back and forth racing and perhaps some slightly subpar racing compared to what we'd expect, race number 2, we did see you make a very strong start, and by the end of the open lap, already hounding down the top 5, and by the end of it, a P2 finish. And I get the feeling if there were a couple more laps, it could have even been a P1.
Yeah, I mean, I think that with a new tyre model that's come out since the update, tyre degradation is more of a thing now in the race. So if you use up a lot of your front tyres trying to make lots of overtakes and asking a little bit more out of your car than perhaps someone is in clean air, then you do suffer towards the end of the race. So I was quite surprised actually how much pace I had in the middle of that race. As the start wasn't amazing, and I don't think I gained that much on lap 1, but then once the race settled down a bit, I was kind of taking a position per lap and using the lighter car to my advantage to make the moves happen, where in the safest place possible. And then I caught up second place, who was Adam Delman at the time, who was carrying a much heavier car than me, so he didn't make it too difficult for me to get past. And then I was kind of catching Wojciech for a while, but I think where he had a little bit more clean air than I had throughout the race, my front tyres just started to go on the last couple of laps, and the progress plateaued, shall we say. So, but still, from P2 from P10 is not a result that you can turn your nose up at, but just a shame that obviously once again I got beaten by the main championship rival.
Still, whilst you may have been beaten by your main rival in race number 2, race number 3, it was the other way round, with Wojciech finishing behind both yourself and also brother Isaac. Although, one thing we did notice in race number 3, beyond the fact having to come from what was a P15 start to P9, which is commendable in itself, it looked as though yourself and Isaac had a few exchanges out of the circuit.
Yeah, I mean, we were on radio communications during the race, so we wasn't trying to battle each other. We were kind of working our way through the pack quite nicely. Sometimes you have to make a move not to leave yourself vulnerable to cars behind, so it might have looked like we were battling each other, but he did also help me out on occasion where he gave me a little bump draft down the start-finish straight, which in turn nearly lost him a position actually to one of the other drivers. So yeah, we both had similar pace in that one. Nice to get ahead of Wojciech, like you say, and beat him in that last race there. But I think actually the pace was pretty good for having P2 weight on, better than it was in qualifying in race 1, and we was catching up the lead gaggle there at the end. So I think had the race been 2 or 3 laps longer, we might have got up to sort of 5th or 6th place there, but just ran out of time. But still, a clean race 3 is always a good race 3.
Most definitely, and some good points scored today, not just for yourself but also the team as a whole. And as we continue to push the championship forward onwards towards round 4 in a week's time, and with it the Charlotte Motor Speedway in the US of A. It's our first visit there in the NXTCC. How are you feeling for it?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure it's going to be a great evening. Sadly, myself and my Doble Sim Racing teammates are not going to be around for the next 2 events, so that will take us unfortunately out of any kind of championship running for this season, teams and individual, considering that the race in 2 weeks time at Spa is a triple points race and an endurance race. So that's obviously the crown jewel race of the season, which we're not going to be a part of. So that is a shame. We will be tuning in from the south of France, where we should be by this time next week, and obviously I've got a bit of racing in the real world to do over the next couple of weeks as well. So we will be back in 3 weeks time to start again, and I'm quite looking forward to actually coming into qualifying with no ballast on the car, and it might be a chance for me to get my first win in what will probably be a season and a half's worth of racing.
Well, Mikey, it'll be a shame not to see yourself and the Doble Sim Racing team on the grid, but at the same time, we do hope you have a lovely time in the south of France. And as well, of course, you did allude to there, real-life racing also abounds. And well, this weekend, I believe it's the BTCC's visit to Knockhill, unless I'm mistaken. How are you feeling for that?
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. I really enjoyed the racing at Knockhill last year. I think the fans did too. And it's a track that really suits the cars, and with the variable strategy up there, with the weather and the different tyre options we have, it's just going to be such a great spectacle. And I think that we're in for a real chance of some great results if we play our cards right. And with the progress we made with the car this season, I think that we should reap the benefits at Knockhill in a way that hopefully the same as what we showed the improvements at Alton Park earlier in the year. So it's going to be a great weekend, and yeah, hopefully come back with some more trophies.
Well, we definitely look forward to seeing how you get on at Knockhill. And of course, ladies and gentlemen, if you do want to tune in to see how Mikey and the team at Powermax Racing get on, I do believe, Mikey, correct me if I'm wrong, it's on ITV4 all day for both the Saturday and the Sunday?
That's it. Well, not the Saturday. If you want to watch the qualifying live, it's on the ITV YouTube channel, live about 3:30, I believe, when qualifying is on Saturday. And then if you want to get your British Touring Car fix all day on Sunday from about 11 o'clock onwards until the last race finishes, it's on ITV4, and you can watch all 3 races and the support racing live all day.
Absolutely fantastic. So a weekend of racing ahead for yourself and for us to all tune in and support you as part of the 88 Army. But just before we do let you go, is there anybody you'd like to give a shout out or a special thank you to on the broadcast this evening?
Yeah, certainly Joseph and Isaac for making the team what it is, I guess, and yourselves for fantastic broadcast, all to our family that are tuning in on a weekly basis to watch us, and of course to Jamie and everyone at NXTGEN for putting on the league, and also for the little shout outs we're getting in the break there with our Honda motorcycle business and my own personal racing brand as well. It's all much appreciated to have the support, and yeah, look forward to being back in a few weeks.
Well, Mikey, it's been a pleasure to have you join me in the interview room. It always is, and well done once again on your fantastic set of performances today. We look forward to plenty more when you do return from your trip away, and indeed the Doble Sim Racing team all come back in full force. But until then, we wish you all the best, both in the real life circuit and also in what sounds like a little bit of a holiday trip as well. And we will see you at the next Checker Flag in a few weeks' time.
Yep. Cheers, Paul. Have a good one.
You too. So hearing that there from Mikey Doble, always a pleasure to hear from him. And today, really talking about the fact, maximising every opportunity and being happy with what he was able to graft with a car that for the most part was quite heavily laden with weight, particularly in qualifying. Noticing, however, that he was 2 tenths down, and one of the things that's been remarked on down in the paddock currently by a number of drivers is just how close qualifying has been today, with the fact that only a couple attempts and you go from being inside the top 10 to all the way down in what is 20th place or beyond. And Mikey commented on the fact that he could have been inside the top 10 and much closer to the front of the field if those 2 attempts that were on his optimum had been achieved, and will we always chase those optimum laps no matter what. With what he was able to achieve with P11 in qualifying, fighting to P10, albeit talking about the fact there was perhaps some subpar driving in there, and perhaps some instant reviews will be going ahead this coming weekend. But either way, fighting after that P10, not letting it being taken from him, and then using that as his launch point to go on the charge for race number 2 and subsequently race number 3, and throughout really demonstrating what was to be a superb set of drives and a consistent set of drives throughout the whole evening, and being able to strike back versus his main rival Wojciech Swirydowicz, who may have got the win in race number 2 but finished 2 places behind Mikey in race number 3, and therefore bringing a degree of points equality. It is of course a shame we won't see him on the grid for at least 9 rounds out of 10 to see whether he can make it a 4th NXTCC crown, but nonetheless he's looking forward to coming back with no success ballast in the car in a few weeks time, and that'll be for round number 6 in September. And well, we'll get to see the Doble Sim Racing family on full attack for the second half of the season, and we can't wait. But now coming on to our final interview of the day, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be hearing from Patrick Falconer, who has been patiently awaiting at the other end of the interview room, and as he does wait just a little bit longer, we'll very quickly get a word in from him shortly, and we'll get to hear his story today on what definitely has been his strongest day of the season so far, and one of his strongest set of performances over the course of his NXTCC career. But we're just going to bring him into the interview room now, and indeed I think he is going to join me now. Here he comes. And well, without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, I am joined by the number 96 driver from JW Motorsport, Patrick Falconer. Patrick, an absolutely brilliant day today. On paper, arguably one of your finest performances in your NXTCC career, because whilst it may not be consistent results across the board, you fought back from adversity in qualifying to in the end take not only a P11 in race 2, but also a 2nd place in race number 3. A tough but successful day?
Yeah, very tough. I got to say, that quality, and it's no excuse. Don't get me wrong. It's not the list of racing driver excuses here. But in qualifying in race 1, I actually had no force feedback. So I was driving with a direct drive with just no force at all. It was just like one finger turning. So it was a bit tricky to adapt. So that's why my quality pace was a bit out of my usual character. So that I had to get through that, and then obviously race 1, just keep it going. So then we had the break after the race that I could go and figure things out. But yeah, it was tricky. Quali and race 1 was interesting, that's for sure. But yeah, and then just plodded through. Race 1, it was just keeping going. It was quite busy. There was a few knocks and bangs here, there, and everywhere. Race 2 was just, again, force feedback was back, so it was nice to feel something for a change. And then, just keep going. Just take the opportunities where I could. I realised where I was really, really good on the brakes, and that's where I used my advantage into certain corners and leaning on a few cars in there, TCR type of driving. And then, race 3, that was fantastic. That was so much fun. Battling with Duncan, he was pretty hard to deal with, but we managed to get past him, and then, just keep going. And I just needed a few more laps on Alan McNally. I think I could have snatched a win there.
Oh, indeed, it was close throughout, particularly in race number 3, like you say. But unfortunately, you had no force feedback in your steering wheel for what was qualifying in race number 1. And with that, of course, still salvaging something out of it and gaining 7 places from your starting position of P24 to P17, I can imagine as well, on top of that, given how close the field was in qualifying, with the top 26 being separated by less than a second, that in the race as well, it feels as though for every place you're about to gain, you've got 2 or 3 drivers behind who are going to take the place back off you before the next corner.
That's correct. And again, it goes down about trust, and I know who drivers I could trust being in my mirrors. So most of the time I just look forward, kept going because I knew who was behind me. But yeah, it's tricky, especially in the bunching back. It's hard to go past cleanly, I suppose. But yeah, it was an interesting evening. And I've got to say, I'm very sweaty, very hot, and I felt like I've worked today. That's for sure.
Oh, brilliant. Well, you definitely sound as though you've exerted a lot of energy. We won't keep you for too long as we come on to race number 2. In the end, finishing P11, but still guaranteeing that you'd be in the reverse grid for race number 3. Seems as though race number 2 was more about just making up those little bits of ground where you could. But I can imagine, again, a lot of battles in front of you as well as behind you. So it was almost a case of sometimes you've got to be patient to get those places.
Yeah, definitely, and that's patience is the key, especially around here. It's a track that you can overtake. It must be quite, I don't know what spectacularly wise. It must be a bit slower for people to watch, but especially on the wheel, you're so nose to tail all the time, and it's a slight advantage. So I knew where I was quicker on the brakes and certain corners, and I knew the straight was going to be my key for the Audi, but everywhere else I was always a bit behind. So yeah, it's very hard to get any places, especially on race 2. In actual fact, I was probably being a bit cheeky. I could have got to 10th place, but I was kind of strategically thinking that if I stayed in 11th, the reverse grid might be quite nice, and I won't carry any weight into the last race. So I was really trying not to overtake 10th, and I think on the last lap I was gently persuading him across the line without overtaking, so that I could get that little bit of advantage for race 3.
Well, sometimes you've got to play the tactics, no doubt about it. And, well, great to hear you thinking in advance of race 3. Speaking of which, when we drew the number 16 off on the lottery bolt, meaning that you would start in what would be P6 on the grid, if my memory serves me correctly, gave you, I think, a little bit of inspiration to push even harder for that final race win.
Yeah, I mean, the race win was always going to be tricky because of how close the field is, and I think iRacing have got the balance of power, or I don't know what they've done over the brakes or something, but it's been quite tough to definitively pick out a car that's quicker. So the Audi for me, in my quickest point, was the start. So for me, it was a case of get a good start, get into the turn one, and I did that. But then I had a few little incidents where I had to back out of a corner and allow a car to go past, and it was a bit to and fro. And I think I had a collision with Duncan in going into turn one again. Just using where I'm stronger into turn one, and I think as I was hitting the apex, he was already turning in. I think that's when two become one doesn't kind of match. So yeah, it was a case of just trying to keep my nose clean and just trying to not scrub the tires, to keep the tires in good condition, and take the apexes and just try and keep my corner speed up so that I could catch up with these in front of me. And slowly but surely, as the cars in front were fighting, I was able to chip away at them, and then getting past Ben Altrea. I mean, it was a bit door to door, but it was TCR and ways, no harm, no foul, and then just got on the back of Adam McNally on the last lap, and I was just needed one more lap.
Unfortunately, wasn't quite to be, but still, if we had one more lap, what could have been? But the flip side of this, of course, being a P2 rounding off what has been a strong end to the day at the Fuji circuit. And we've still got plenty more racing to come. And meanwhile, in the Teams Championship going into round number 4 in a week's time, JW Motorsport have now moved to P2, only 40 points behind NextGen Pink, as we'll see a little bit later on. I mean, you must be happy for yourself and the team and the fact you're making ground, and it looks like this season you could really be putting in a contest for that Teams Championship.
Yeah, to see us second on the list is quite fun. Was chatting about it. We could be in a potential point to keep this podium going. I think it was when we saw it was in fourth, we was like, a bit of a nosebleed situation. But I think if we could get a podium this season for a team going, that'd be great. And we've got a new driver, Mr. Lees. He's joined us, and he's pretty quick. So me, Miss Reese, and Mikhail, we're trying to chip away at the front and keep that train going. And I think we're doing really well. We bounce off each other quite nicely, except for last race at race 2, we physically bounced off each other. But no, it was we just got to keep going. We're gonna work up a strategy. It's starting to get a bit serious now. Just staying at the top end of the table. So yeah, fingers crossed we can keep this momentum going for the rest of the season.
Well, speaking of getting serious, of course, next week we make our first visit to the Charlotte Roval in the US. How are you feeling for the circuit?
Never driven it. So we'll see how we get on. Literally never driven it, so we'll see how it gets on. Hopefully, it's not as bad as everyone's telling me it is.
Well, fingers crossed that you are able to come to terms with the circuits. We look forward to seeing plenty more racing for yourself and the JW Motorsport team as the season goes on. But just before we do let you go, Patrick, is there anybody you'd like to give a shout out or a thank you to live on the broadcast?
Just the usual people, yourself, Jamie, and all the guys at NXTGEN. Mikey Doble for obviously doing the sponsorship for this season. JW Motorsports for keeping me along and putting up with my nonsense. And yeah, just everybody involved and just keeping this great series going. It's the only one I do now, so I love it every week.
Oh, fantastic to hear that this is your mainstay series of your sim racing career, and well, we have to give a big thank you to yourself, Patrick, for joining me in the interview this evening. It may have not been the most consistent set of results, but definitely some of the hardest fought results of the day, and one of those stories to take away. And we look forward to seeing you in a week's time at Charlotte for round number 4. But until then, have a fantastic rest of your evening.
Cheers, mate. Thank you, Matt. Take care.
So hearing that there from Patrick Falconer, and what has been a triumphant day for him, and really talking about the fact that the difficulties in qualifying and race 1 being compounded by not having any forced feedback for his will. And well, like he said, you don't want to put the sim racing drivers' excuses out there, but when these things do materialise, well, you have to try and manage it as best as possible. But with the feedback back in the car, race number 2 made the progress to P10, let it fall back to P11 strategically in order to give himself a car that had no weight going into the final race of the day and would capitalise on the reverse grid. And with the relatively low reverse grid number of P12, that's exactly what was needed. It all came together, but the one thing that didn't quite come together was that final overtake for the win in race number 3 versus Adam McNally. A P2 in the end, but still a hard-fought P2, albeit with that contact, as we did see there with his rival Duncan Rise right towards the end of the hairpin. That may go to the stewards after the racing, but we'll have to wait and see. But still, the JW Motorsport driver put his hand up to say, with regards to today, gave it his all. And we look forward to plenty more from Patrick and the JW Motorsport team in round 4 and onwards as we make our way deeper and deeper into the season. And particularly in that team's championship, could they, like he said, be looking at that first ever team's championship podium, perhaps even be an outsider for the championship win? But we'll have to wait and see. But with that, ladies and gentlemen, that concludes our interviews for today. And we've heard from, once again, firstly, Alex Meredith for Whiskey Runners Racing in the Pro-Am class. We then heard from Mikey Doble from Doble Sim Racing in the Pro class. And we just heard from the Pro class's JW Motorsport driver of Patrick Falconer. Congratulations to all of them on their performances today. And a big thank you to them for joining me in the interview room. But of course now, ladies and gentlemen, we need to turn our attentions to what is the Provisional Championship standings with our drop score applied after 3 rounds of racing. And without further ado, as we can see in the Drivers' Championship overall, the top 15, Wojciech Swirydowicz continues to hold on to lead after not picking up what was his best performance, or indeed an improving performance day in terms of points. And the same for Mikey Doble. They both stay exactly where they were, both with 57 points separated them after this 3rd round. Meanwhile, for Jamie Dory, he moves a little bit closer to the top there, holding on to P3 on 241 points, 6 clear of Adam Delmont. But Isaac Doble, meanwhile, moves to P5 on 211 points, with Benjamin McCluskey nipping at his heels a further 5 points behind. Andrew Pite and Lee Horn sit 2 points apart, P7, P8, with Ben Altrier, your leading Pro-Am driver, now in P9, only 1 point ahead of Alex Meredith, who's had a huge haul of points today in the overall standings to complete the top 10. Then Gavin Goddard falls to P11, but 9 still, it's a long way to go, and he needs to find his way to battle back against these pesky Pro-Ams who seem to be intervening. And Matthew Addy, if what could have been, with regards to some results today, until some late contacts in 2 races, cost him dear, but stays P12 for now on 156 points. Only ahead of Patrick Falconer based on result countback. Then Adam McNally and Reese Watt complete the top 15, not too far behind. In the Pro-Am class, meanwhile, as we can see with points adjusted, Ben Altrier stays at the top on 319 points to 297 of Alex Meredith, who is today with 2 wins and a 2nd place, has leapt all the way to P2 and is only now 22 points behind. And well, we can see how this set of results has done him well, but the true test will come at Charlotte Roval. Can he make a bigger dent into Altrier's lead, or will Altrier be able to stabilise? Matthew Addy as well stays P3 on 289 points, having dropped down there, but the point will be at this time, can he find a way to revive his fortunes after the difficulties of Fuji, knowing that if results had gone his way today, he could be leading the Pro-Am Championship after 3 rounds. Matthew Sheraton has moved to P4 with a good haul of points up to 237, 7 clear of Nick Clibbins with 0 scores across the board today, not in attendance. And Liam Silkstone, meanwhile, with a difficult day of racing, falls to P6 with only 20 points gained. Behind him by a single point, Andy Fox, not on the grid, but we expect him back in a week's time, albeit tuning in from holiday. And then Sam Van Olst, Michael Lees and Duncan Rise completing the top 10, all close behind in the chase of the top 5. James Mansell a bit further behind by the best part of almost 40 points in P11 best the rest, with their Vincent Emblair in P12 not on the grid today at 165. And then we can see Jake Pitt, Luke Jones and Alan McCain completing the top 15, with McCain there falling back into the clutches of drivers behind on only 129. But then we come to the AM class, last but not least, our Drivers' Championships, and it's Sam Bradley who leads on 315 to the 276 of Daniel Fritz. Bradley re-establishing that lead with a strong set of performances today, albeit this AM class absolutely closely contested, no doubt about it, and Jonathan Collins in P3. Well, the drop scores counted right now, and as they continue to be updated, that could be the difference between these 3. And let's not forget Mitchell West, whose performances today, his best performances of the season, moving to within 1 point of the top 3, and it's exactly what was needed. Matt Emmons not on the grid, unfortunately due to personal circumstances, so today will become his drop score, but 247 points, don't count him out. Nor Mark Kent, who's just having no luck so far this season after 3 rounds. He's waiting for his big score, so he's a driver who everybody will be raising an eyebrow at and wondering when he's going to have fortune turn his way on 243 points. Next, Roy Plummer ahead of Craig Tillerson in the battle for P7 by 10 points between the two, and a further 10 points to Kevin Smith, in a similar fashion today, didn't have luck go his way and had a lot of pace, race-leading pace, but was never quite allowed to show it. Josh Brown completes the top 10, having not been on the grid, but 187 points to his name. Next best of the rest for Lewis Mason ahead of Costa Chatscontinental, with Thomas Delaney, Mike Kurtler and Gabriel Yilmaz yet to get any points on the board. But then coming to the Teams Championship, and as we can see, Next Gen Pink remain on top by only 39 points over JW Motorsport, who move into the top 3 for the first time in their NXTCC Teams Championship career. Of course, it's a long way to go, but when they move into P2, they're putting a name out for themselves there, as Zempa Racing being the best part of a further 55 points or so behind, well, the game is on to be the primary contender to chase down Next Gen Pink. SO and Next Gen Gold hold P4, only the best part of 29 points clear of Sam Casey with Next Gen, with both teams getting a consistent set of points on the board again today. Now Valkyrie X-Type have leapfrogged the way into P6 with a good set of performances, particularly in races 1 and 2, so keep your eyes out for them as they make their top 5 charge, with Aztec Racing, Doble Sim Racing, Full Tilt Motorsport and Goldwyn Motorsports completing the top 10. But with that, ladies and gentlemen, it is now time for us to wrap up. Thank you very much for watching, and if you have enjoyed today's show, and perhaps you're sat there right now wanting to be on the grid for a future season of the NXTCC, or perhaps you just want to know more about the series that we host at Next Gen Racing, well, for all that and more, we definitely recommend going firstly to our website, that's at nextgenracing.co.uk, where you can find out all the latest information regarding our community and our series, and well, that website appearing on screen here. And in our 17th year of hosting sim racing series and leagues, we continue to go from strength to strength, and there's never been a better time to become part of the Next Gen Racing community. But if you don't want to necessarily go to our website, perhaps you're more of a Facebook person, well, thankfully, we've got a dedicated Facebook group just for you, and that's at facebook.com/groups/Next Gen Racing, where you can find out the same things as you can on our website, but you can also find out about the guys and girls who make up Next Gen Racing and what we do both on the virtual and also a real motorsporting circuit, where a number of our admins and staff members being trackside marshals, if not real life racing drivers. We'd also like to take a moment to say a thank you to our sponsors, without whom this would not be possible, including PowerMax, Next Level Racing, Mark Sykes Designs, Joyce Design, Sam Cases UK, Douglas Motorsport, Falconer PC, Builders and Support, Benji Sim Photos, and last but not least, of course, Doble Motorcycles, our title sponsor for this season. And if you are looking to buy your next two-wheeled machine or ATV, why not consider Doble Motorcycles, as they are the leading Honda motorcycle dealer in the UK. Whether it's on 2 wheels or 4 wheels, they will have it, and the Doble family-run business prides itself on the ultimate customer service. But with that, ladies and gentlemen, we now turn our attentions to our next round of racing, and for the first time in the NXTCC's history, round number 4 will see us take on Charlotte Motor Speedway's Roval Loud, and the Road Oval, a highly challenging circuit, but one that many a rookie in iRacing has to go through as part of their early races, but who will show that experience at Charlotte Roval in a week's time. Join us on Tuesday the 13th of August as we continue the story in the first half of the season. But until then, we have been Next Gen Racing. I've been your host and commentator, Paul TX141 Walsh, also known as Britain a Spit, depending on what media you follow me on. And until next time, remember to stay safe, stay well, stay smiling, but most importantly, as always, remember to stay on track. Good night.